Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, Punk, Larry, so many other things that people like to call me that don't like me, but you guys can call me whatever you want. And today, my very special, special guest.
Too many specials.
No, not even close. The Thanos Copter.
Hey,
How
everybody.
are you doing?
I'm doing good.
How are you doing, Paul? I
Oh,
just want to say your name.
I'm
You're
good.
Thanos as far as I'm concerned, but I needed to know your name. I know someone's going to ask that, and you said it didn't matter.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't think anyone's ever going to call you it. I might now actually.
I mean, it's my name.
Yeah, well, some people don't want to know what their names are. Some people hide behind it, or I understand why if you're on this and you want to stay anonymous or whatever. It's actually fully understandable to be 100% honest. Um,
Yeah.
some people like me put way too much out there, but it's kind of like not like anyone that's like any actor or athlete, or not that I'm one of them, but we've become public people. I mean, it's not hard to find out who we are, to be 100% honest. So,
Yeah.
all right, how was your day?
It was filled with work, and now that's done, so it's better.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that I'm sorry that it has to end here, but you end on Oz's all the time, so. And I'm glad that you said that you actually you requested to tell them like, hey, I can't work late. So,
Yeah,
I,
they
I
tried to give me a last minute appointment today. I was like, nope, not today. You got to find somebody else.
well, I appreciate it. I haven't had anyone cancel on me. I haven't had any duds, contrary to what you think might happen today. Come on, we've seen your. There is no way with all those pictures that you post that there could be anything Dudley about you.
I don't know. My personal life is pretty boring. I mean, playing with toys is probably the most excitement I have. So,
Yeah, but you were. I mean, you were. Other than myself, for me, probably the one championing most for Wood Bunny to show up on my channel.
I lost track of her. I haven't seen her on Instagram, or I would
I,
keep doing that.
I haven't either. It seems like she disappears, and it's understandable. I could only imagine the types of creeps that she
I'm
get.
sure. I'm sure.
She probably kept seeing you tag her, and then went to your page and was like, "Oh hell no!" I don't even know if she's still on YouTube or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Again, that was just a complete accidental find. Complete accidental find. Uh, just talking to Tony on the phone and was like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "Go to this YouTube." Like, she's just in this, and I was amazed by. First, you're struck by how she looked, and if you guys don't know who Wood Bunny is, look her up. It's Wood, Buni. All right, not spelled like bunny, not two N's. First, amazed by what she was wearing, but I'm like, she's actually doing real woodwork. Like she does real work, is what was the most shocking thing about everything. But anyway, all right. So let me start off and ask you, where does your handle come from? The thing.
There's an old Marvel comic where Thanos is like riding around in a helicopter, and it says Thanos on like the tail of it, and then he ends up getting arrested by the New York police at the end of the day, and it's just like this ridiculous, like it was a children's story, Spider-Man. But I always thought it was funny, so I've been using the handle for years.
And I mean, we all see the picture because your logo is right there, and we all know that that's the picture. And it was funny that you picked that, and it was like it's nothing special. And what I mean by that, it's like you just took the Thanos copter and like you didn't change anything. You didn't like I'd up punk with toys or brick something. You just Thanos copter.
Well, so I've had it for a long time, and me and my buddies used to do a podcast, and we'd talk about like comics and stuff. So when I started posting on Twitter, that was the handle I picked, the
Okay.
Thanos Copter, just to be something kind of ridiculous, but in comics. And then I brought it over to Instagram and Reddit and YouTube. And
Just I love it, like because you see, and I like the fact that you don't change your picture.
Yeah, I actually did for like a day, and I changed it right back.
Well, I've talked to a few people, and it's like when you start changing your logo, especially once you become established, people they forget who you are. Ford has the same logo, GM has the same logo. Chrysler changes it all the time, so they're not a good example. But you know what? I mean, it's there's certain logos like I changed mine early on, uh, and I don't think I could change it now because everyone knows exactly what it is. I see brick somethings, and I'm like, I don't even know what it is if I don't look at it. Cobb just popped in. I've seen Cobb's. Then even like when you look at some of the logos, um, like Matthew, I see his face. But even though Ed, I know, has changed it, but sometimes when you just see the background, you're not sure what it is, but you know exactly what it looks like. So
Yeah.
Tony's saying, don't change that shit.
So the picture's not mine. I just found it on the internet. So if somebody ever comes to me and was like, "Hey, I did that, and I want you not to use it," I'll respect it.
That's
But
not from the comic.
no, it's just a random picture.
Oh, see, I always thought it was from the comic.
Mm-mm.
See, I always thought that was from the actual pages of the comic. I didn't realize that it wasn't your actual. There was someone's that you just.
Yeah, I don't know who made it. It's just I found it on the internet a long time ago.
That is absolutely awesome. Well, before we get started, let's say hi to the chat because there are a bunch of people. So if you haven't yet, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, go to the Thanos Copter. His links are in the description. We have Christoph Scuba here, son of a crayon slayer, Johnny Reno, Daredevil Dave, GI Bro, who has the best guns in the community. We have a Brick Something, Francis Brody, Menhuza. Did I say Daredevil Dave? I think I said Daredevil Dave. We can say that again. Um, we have Action Figs Ed, who I know you know this guy very well. This guy, Mr. 5K, just starts whenever he wants. Now, damn straight I do. And you guys are no better.
He was telling me all the rules of what I can show and what I can't on his channel.
Woody Triple Two, my other moderator, Matthew Matson. We have Nolan, which makes us ToyTube official. Viper Scout is in the house. Cobweb Collector, who I've already mentioned. Plastic Skulls has joined us. PNC, which I just love that name because it's taken so many different ways, but it's actually PNC. Tony's Figs has joined us, who I already mentioned. Machine Man Brick Something says, "Hey Matt, you needed to handle something in between the streams. Now I'm multitasking with this dork liar." When you have Thanos here and you say you're handling something between streams, it makes you think of the wrong types of things. So, and we have Clint Jorgensen, Legend Series, Hyperdelic, and I think that is everyone right now. So anyway, thank you once again for joining me. Everyone have a wonderful night. We're out of here. Oh man, I forgot Payne's toy samples. I know I saw him earlier too, and we actually know Payne. He's actually one of the people you actually know. Have you ever met anyone from YouTube in real life?
Skelevator, Oz's co-host on Toy Frenzy. He lives fairly close to me. So I went to one of his art shows, and then I randomly ran into him at a Target.
Do you ever met anyone else? Do you go to toy shows or anything?
Nothing big. Like every once in a while, like little local stuff at the malls and stuff here, or like street sales.
Because now, I mean, we're coming to the point where so many of us are going to different cons, and especially you guys in California and everything. You guys tend to, even though California is a very large state, you guys seem to be kind of connecting more often. Well, obviously not you. No one wants to meet the Thanos Copter.
I mean, until recently, I had a fairly unreliable car with like no AC, so road trips weren't really something I was willing to do.
What's wrong without AC in California?
Drive around for a while.
Funny, when I got my first car, my first brand new car, my dad said, he goes, the only thing you have to get is AC. Okay, we're going back to 90, a 95 Neon was my first brand new car. And I was like, why? And he was like, believe me. And the Neon didn't have power windows. It was brand new, didn't have power windows. I wanted power windows. He's like, you need AC more than power windows. No, I don't. No, I don't. He made me get AC, didn't have power windows, and he was absolutely 100% correct.
Yeah.
Because you can roll down the windows, but when you get on that highway and you're trying to drive somewhere, it sucks. You know, and when it's a 95 degrees, it sucks.
It's a cool day around here in the summertime.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. Woody Triple Two says a brand new Neon. That's like saying he bought a brand new Flintstone mobile. Hey! I had the first model, the Dodge Neon. Even though the Plymouth Neon was the exact same, except for the different. They didn't even change the name of it. Like they couldn't even bother to change the name. They're like, you know what? It's the same car. One's Plymouth. Plymouth's not even around anymore. It finally became the Chrysler Neon. One's Dodge. All right. So, do you mind me asking how old you are?
45.
Okay, so a little bit younger than me, but in that age range of where I think a lot of us are going to gravitate to a very similar type of childhood toy. So, where were you born at? Where did you grow up at?
I was born in Long Beach and then moved to the Central Valley shortly afterwards. We were in Anaheim when I was really, really small.
Okay. And your parents, were they together the whole time, or?
Yeah. My dad passed when he was only 51. So
Okay.
My mom's remarried now, but they were together my whole childhood.
So how old were you when your dad passed away?
Oh, man. Late 20s, early 30s. I'm bad with time, but
okay.
Somewhere in there.
Well, you got to have your dad way longer than I got to have my mom, so.
And I'm grateful for it.
No, dude, believe me, I've had people that they don't want to talk to me about they in conversation. They're like, I feel bad ever talking about things I did with my mom because, your mom died, and I'm like, dude, how could you be upset? Like, why would I ever be upset over someone having their parent longer than I had mine? Like it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Like if I was someone to get mad about something like that, you're a pretty awful person.
For sure.
Did you have any siblings, brothers, sisters?
Only child.
Only child. So no built-in play friends. You had to use
I had a lot of cousins that are my age that all lived in the same town. They've all moved away now, but
I feel like you had invisible friends. You must have, right?
Invisible friends? I don't know about that.
Imaginary friends. I did. I had an imaginary friend that was John Baker. That if you know, that is Officer Poncherello's his partner. But I was a Ponch fan, and I would make my parents open up the trunk, and he'd have to go in the trunk every time we drive somewhere, and then open up the trunk to let him out.
Yeah, no imaginary friends.
And I don't know why it was John Baker, because I never really liked John Baker. I guess it would be, well, not as bad as
Punch.
What? Yeah, well, I guess I wouldn't want, And everyone would say that my dad looked like Punch, so maybe that's the reason why. Viper Scout says, my imaginary friend was my TV. Did you put your TV in the trunk every time you went somewhere? Timothy McGlynn says, hello. I have never seen a Timothy McGlynn here. I don't know if you know who he is, but thank you for joining. I'm going to say I've never seen you here before, so good. Thanks for joining. If I'm wrong, as I say always, Matthew Madsen will send me a screenshot going, you're an idiot. He's been here many times. All right, so do you remember the first toys that you had playing?
I mean, I had the little people and a barn set and stuff like that.
I love that barn set. It seemed like every grandparent or aunt or uncle that you went over their house always had that. They'd bring that out for you to play with.
Yeah, so that's like the first stuff I remember.
You have Hot Wheels, Matchbox, stuff like that.
No, I've never really been like cars. Never really fascinated me. Um, Plastic dinos and stuff. Hell yeah, but
Really?
yeah,
Plastic dinos. I don't think anyone's mentioned plastic dinos yet. But it makes sense. I mean, it's no different than Army Men, right?
yeah,
I mean, I used to have so much fun with Army Men. I thought that was like they're so easy to set up. You know, when they no longer stand up, you know that they're dead.
for the
And
injured one.
it's the injured one. Someone accidentally stepped on it. So, but yeah, I've never had anyone bring up that. Menhoza says Tinker Toys and Lincoln Logs. I never had Tinker Toys. Did you?
No,
I knew what
I
they
had
were.
some Lego, but no Tinker Toys or Lincoln Logs.
Yeah, I had Lincoln Logs. Tinker Toys, I never did. And I've talked about Lincoln Logs now. Like I tried making like a ninja backdrop, and you think you have and they were they're my kid stuff. You think you have a lot till you start trying to build up something big enough to fit 6-inch figures, and you're like, I don't have that many. And then you go to look how much they are, and you're like, yeah, and I'm still not going to have many more after this.
Yeah, just go gather some wood.
That's exactly it. So, do you remember like the first toys you started really playing with, other than
Uh,
like
He-Man for sure.
really
Masters of the Universe. Yeah.
no Star Wars, GI Joe?
So my cousin's a little bit older than me, and he had Star Wars, and I would play with the stuff at his house and stuff. Same with GI Joe. Like he had a lot of GI Joe, but I was never like a big GI Joe kid. Like I had fun with him when I played
Yeah.
with him at his house, and I liked the cartoon, and I even read the comic books back in the day. But I'm just not big on the toys.
Woody says pine is the most delicious of woods. um, and Allison has joined in to say greetings. Um, so, like with Star Wars, because you're a little bit younger than me, do you remember seeing them at the theater or anything like that?
I don't think that I did. I know, like, I watched them on VHS a lot as a
Okay.
kid. Um, and like growing up, I had like Star Wars stuff. Like I had Empire Strikes Back, like bed set and stuff like that. And like we had like knockoff lightsaber toys. Me and my cousins used to beat the hell out of each other with. Um, but yeah,
The ones that made the noise, as long as
no,
you
they
whip
were
them.
just like these hollow, glow in the dark things that my grandpa got us, and they weren't like even really lightsabers, but you know we would pretend they're lightsabers and beat the
They
shit
were
out of
just
each
sticks to hit each other with. I feel like I really do wonder, like, so I mean, I was born in '75, right at the end of '75, so I got to be there throughout the whole thing. But I feel like, as great as Star Wars is, and obviously it's one of the biggest selling toys or merchandise of franchises at all, there was such a small window. It seems like in the '80s, '83 came, and what they were gone by '85, right? Like, obviously
other.
they
Yeah,
were
I
still
don't really
present.
remember seeing them as a kid, other than like I said, my cousin that's a little bit older had some.
Yeah. And Joe G is stopping in to say hello. And Jay Astro also. All right, so He Man was like the first toy you remember kind of just falling in love with.
He-Man and Transformers, like I was big into both those as a
Oh, I wasn't expecting Transformers because I don't think I've ever really heard you discuss Transformers or talk about it. Maybe that's because no one
kid.
talks about it in the clubhouse.
Um, so like these days, I have a couple of Transformers toys. But like back in the day, I had like a ton of Transformers. I had like Devastator, like the whole set, Optimus. Like I had a bunch of different ones. And actually, when I started getting back into nerdy stuff, like in my 20s, Transformers is what did it. I started thinking about the movie. I couldn't find it. I had it imported from Canada. And then I started buying like the Beast Wars stuff because that was like on the shelves at the time.
Ugh. God, I hated the Beast Wars stuff. So, as an only child, were you pretty spoiled, or
Yeah, I'd say I was pretty spoiled.
okay? So, Transformers. Is it just the fact that the cars transformed into? Well, it's just cars. They transformed from anything. Is that what it was, or
It was probably the cartoon, right? Like I was just
okay?
programmed to be like, hey, these are cool.
The cartoon is still. And I always talk about as a skateboarder, it kills me to say that Rad is the greatest extreme sports movie. I feel the same way about Transformers. I love G.I. Joe. It's my number one. I think that's safe to say. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But Transformers is so much better than G.I. Joe. I can still
All the cartoons, it holds up a lot better. Like He-Man, I love He-Man, but that old Filmation is like rough.
He-Man is one of those. So the TV show, it's one of those things where I know you don't have kids, right? Like you sit down with your kids, like, you gotta watch this. And they're gonna watch it and go, this is awful. And you're going, no, this is awesome. And in your head, you really know this is awful. Everything that they said about how bad it is and how they don't want to watch it is true, but there's something about it. It's so campy.
Yeah.
You know, I
Well,
mean,
it tries to not be violent at all, but it's a barbarian with a sword, so you want him to be violent.
like, it tries not to be violent. I got swords. And, and we all complain about how like no one could figure out who Clark Kent was, that he's Superman, but He-Man was even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all can say that he was just a little worse. 1 second here.
Here comes the money. Here we go. Money talk. Here comes the money.
Jay Astor with the $5 super chat. With the $5 super chat, can't stay long, but want to say Thanos is a cool dude. Props to him. Well, he's saying that to you. He said nothing about me. So,
but you get the money. So,
see, someone that was boring wouldn't have been that quick on their feet to throw that one out there. All right, so you kind of explained Transformers. What was it about He-Man? Because clearly He-Man's one that stuck with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. One thing I will say about Filmation, like, it's beautiful. Like, the alien world that is Eternia, like, to this day, I will still go back and, like, watch it just to watch the backgrounds and stuff. Just something about, like, fantasy in general. Like, I'm drawn to, you know, probably scantily clad people beating the hell out of each other, right?
But you are an equal opportunity scantily clad person, male or female.
It's true.
I think we've noticed that in your can we call it your artwork on Instagram?
I'm sure.
If you're not following Thanos on Instagram, go do it after this, because I don't want you to go do it then come back and be like, you are a disgusting son of a bitch. I'm assuming everyone here, I would assume, has already seen some of your pictures. But if you haven't seen his stuff, it is very comical in a distasteful way sometimes.
Sometimes.
But if you're one of those people that follow him and then a week or two later unfollow because you can't handle it, just look at the pictures before you hit subscribe or whatever, right? I think it's safe to say it's.
I'm not for everybody, so just look around, see if you like it. You will have fun though. Like my Instagram is, I think, one of the funnest Instagrams. I'm not trying to brag or anything.
No, because you don't overdo it, and I will get into this later on. You don't overdo it. You're not trying to. I don't feel like you're ever trying to one up the next picture per se. Like, oh my god, I got to get a better one out tomorrow. Like, it's like, this is what I dropped, and then the next week it may have nothing to do with that, but it's going to be something else that's probably going to be.
I got a really good one next week. One that I'm like really happy for.
You say that every Saturday on Ozzy's. This Wednesday. A war chest full of toys says he needs to put more anal in his Instagram.
I do have some 1/12 scale anal beads that I've only shot once, so we'll see what happens.
I don't even want to ask why you have anal beads.
I bought a set. You can get a set of just sex toys for 1/12 scale. Came with anal beads and a bunch of other stuff.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So like some of the dildos and vibrators that I've used in my shots. You know, pocket vaginas. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Like it's a full accessory set that's all sex toys,
But what's it for?
action figures.
So wait, they're actually making adult toys for action figures?
Yeah, they've got like packs of condoms, used condoms.
Where exactly do you find this stuff at?
Those I got off eBay, but I went looking for them.
Okay, I don't know what's more disturbing. That you went looking for them, or there was somebody that said, "Hey, there's gonna be somebody looking for this stuff. I need to produce it."
They could make more. Like really, someone could. There's a lot of people doing those kind of pictures. So
I don't follow those sick fucks. I only follow you. Johnny Reno says Lawrence action figures have sex also. Well, that's how we get duplicates, right? That's how we get repaints, right? Hey, I'm not sex shaming. All right? PNC says that toys in us.
there you
go. K-Max's date is wrong. Oh yeah, you are correct. But that would have been in the past, so. Right? Well, you know what? I forgot the one. No one else could have told
me. I just noticed
that. I did too. We'll go fix it. It doesn't matter. Okay, Mac, thank you for letting us know. Thank you for letting me know.
I told you I was bad at time, so.
Well, I didn't notice it either, so. Okay. So, Master of the Universe. Now, Transformers, Master of the Universe. Were there other toy lines that you got into that you played with?
Yeah, with my Masters, I had some of the Black Star figures. And then I don't know if like a lot of people don't talk about it, but the old Imperial stuff. Do you remember that?
I don't think so. What is
so
it?
They would have like dinosaurs or dragons or like a rhino, and they would have like chariots or harnesses, and they were built for the 5.5 toys. And I don't even know like where my parents got them from. I don't remember seeing them on shelves or anything, but yeah, they were basically just a He-Man like sideline.
Oh, okay, all right. I know what you're talking about now. It kind of like they're not the Legends of Dragorn. What is that called?
Legends of Dragonor.
Dragonor, yeah. Which I don't like those at all. I'm sorry.
I like those.
They look like the cheap He-Man knockoffs.
When you get them in your hand, they're like high quality plastic. Like they're really well made toys. Yeah.
Like when I saw them at PowerCon, over a year ago now, I looked at them, and to me, when I saw them, they looked like cheap. They super bright colors, and I know Sergeant Reds has them. I haven't looked. I don't think I've looked at them, but I didn't like them, and also to see that they're just very exactly like the old He-Man figures. They don't have any articulation, like in the elbows. And
they have like the wrist swivel and the boot swivel. Yeah, and they all like pop apart at those spots too. So.
Yeah, and again, if you like them, I don't really have.
Yeah, they're solid toys.
Yeah, whatever makes you happy. I just when I saw them, I was very disappointed in them. And of course, now I'm not really collecting too much Motu stuff, so I have even less interest in them. Because they've made more figures that are like G.I. Joe, so I have that to waste my money on. Let's say hi to Ugly Ass Mofo. I do like that name. And Fatrid has jumped in here. Roman and Thanos. It's almost like no one says hi to me anymore. All right, so you liked more. So were they generic, considered like generic toys, or?
Yeah, I would think they were knockoff. They made like weapon packs and stuff too. So like I have like a bunch of other accessories that would go with your He-Man. They have like helmets to put on,
Oh
like
wow!
shields, guns, swords, maces.
You know what? It's funny. Like, so Johnny Reno had sent me. He sent me a Stratos, a vintage Stratos, like packaged, and also an accessory pack. I remember the accessory pack colors. Like I remember those weapons. I don't remember ever seeing accessory packs for Motu.
Yeah, they had them.
Oh, I know. Like he sent me one, but I don't remember them. Like I remember, like when I looked at the colors, I was like, I remember those colors, but I don't remember ever seeing those. And I obviously remember like GI Joe had them all the time, which is really weird because Motu. I mean, it was right there next to GI Joe, and you always looked at it. And I had a bunch of Motu figures. I wasn't the biggest Motu fan because I always thought it was called He-Man.
I mean, I always called it He-Man too. It wasn't until like recently that I started calling it Motu or Masters of the Universe. It was always
Same with me. And people are like, it's always been called Masters of the Universe. I'm like, no, it's called He-Man. I'm like, no, they said He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And I'm like, no, they didn't. Well, they did, but. And then when you look at it, you're like, it is Masters of the Universe.
But as a kid, it was like, let's play He-Man.
Exactly. Yeah, I was the same way. So, any other lines after that, or were you around? Like, were you still into toys as a kid when like Turtles and stuff came out?
When Turtles first started, I got a few, but at that point, I was spending my own money on them. My parents weren't buying me toys anymore. I got with them for a little bit, and then I ended up giving most of my toys away to my younger cousins at a certain point. So
I feel like I said this before. I feel like He-Man is Master of the Universe. To anyone that's going to be mad, I feel like that is the ultimate passed down line. They didn't have that many points of articulation. They were big, they were bulky, they could be swapped around, and it just seemed like they're the one figure that really lasted the test of time, getting passed down from kid to kid to kid, probably to the 90s, I would assume. Where GI Joe was not going to last. Star Wars, people looked at it and was like, I don't really care about that. Transformers, once they got loose and looked like shit, nobody really wanted to play
yeah,
with
and
them.
little pieces would break off of them, or you'd lose like a hand. And
Yeah, with He-Man, like it didn't matter if you didn't know the lore, it didn't matter what sword you had or what laser gun. I don't understand why they had laser guns. But they had laser guns. Yeah, I always thought that was weird. Oz is saying hello. He's wondering what time you'll be in on Saturday already. So, how long did you like continue to play with toys? Like, did you hit that middle school, those middle school ages where we all still kind of played with toys, but it was our little secret, even though
yeah, it was probably like junior high. I know, like I started getting into comic books more, and like I had given away a bunch of my toys. It was just probably around 7th or 8th grade when I gave a lot of them away. That was always like I still watched cartoons, I still read comic books, so I was always kind of nerdy in that aspect. But I also started getting more into music, so my allowance was now going to buying albums instead of buying toys and whatnot.
Quickly, Profit Director says, I know it's Motu. I've known for years, and I know Motu fans who insist on calling it Motu and hate it when you call it that. But I don't care. It'll always be He-Man to me. I started calling it Motu just because I didn't know what I kept hearing people talk about Motu when I really got back into toys and the whole YouTube thing. I'm like, what the fuck is Motu? And then someone's like, it's Master of the Universe. Oddly enough, I'm actually wearing the shirt. And like, it doesn't say He-Man anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think I stopped calling it He-Man just because I thought Motu was a really cool acronym for it. It really does kind of flow. And it doesn't get. You can't confuse Motu with anything else.
No, not really.
You know, if you're in the toy community, people know exactly when you say Motu what it is. If you say Joe, people are like, "Who?" And you're like, "Joe." You know, GI Joe. Oh, okay. You can't say GI because then it's like, is it Morty?
Gastrointestinal.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That is how you think right there. So middle school, you said you started giving stuff away. You got into comics.
Yeah.
What comics? Like, did you get into comics because it was like? I feel like a lot of us, or a lot of people in this community, they get into comics because you don't get made fun of if you're reading comics. They're easier to kind of put away, so people don't see that you're still into immature stuff. We talked about TV shows like cartoons and stuff where nobody knows that you're watching the cartoon. You can just turn it off or just not have your friends over when it's on.
It's not so much that I was like trying to hide it or like trying to be like, this is my fix for toys or whatever. It's just I went on a vacation with my parents and we flew and they bought me like a small stack of comics and I just really liked them.
Okay.
X-Men was like my big thing. First time I saw a Nightcrawler on the cover of a comic book, I was just like, this dude's cool.
Why Nightcrawler?
I don't know, blue fuzzy demon thing. Like,
You just normally don't hear people say, I saw Nightcrawler and that was it.
I mean, I like his design.
Okay.
Then I started reading X-Men. They were doing X-Men classics at the time, so you could read like the old story and the new story.
Yep.
So like you got a big chunk of X-Men during that little era, which was pretty cool.
And Ray Black has joined in and said, "Hey, Lawrence, Thanos, and chat. It's nice when people say hi to me also, so thank you, Ray. Greatly appreciate it." All right, so middle school, you're reading comics. Did you get into anything else? Because were you still playing with toys? You said you pretty much started giving your stuff away.
Yeah, so actually I lost a lot of my He-Man. I went with my cousins when they moved out of California, and I brought a big bag of He-Man. And then when I came back, it didn't get packed in the car. Like I was still a pretty little kid at that point. So like toys lost a lot of magic for me when I lost a good chunk of my He-Man collection.
Okay. I can
and then I gave a bunch of stuff away. I don't think I had anything that I really like kept and played with. Like I had a Grayskull. Like I've always had a Grayskull somewhere in my house that just kind of like, even when I wasn't playing with toys, it was like on a shelf or like now it's displayed in the living room. But
where toys should be displayed.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, mine is completely displayed. And when people go, they look at me and I'm like, I'm also single, so like I don't have to justify how I decorate the house. Although I do see the dirty looks that my ex sometimes. Well, she did give. She doesn't really anymore. Now she just looks and she's like, whatever. I don't have to live here. I'm like, that's damn right. And quickly.
Here comes the money. Here we go. Money talk. Here comes the money.
Jay Astro with a $2 super chat. Hello to everyone except this Larry guy. Well, thank you very much. I still get the $2. Somewhere around $2. All right, so going to high school, are you still reading comics? Have you always read comics?
Yeah, pretty much since I picked up comics. Like there'll be a few times here and there where I like lapse, but then I always go back and like try to find like try to catch up on stuff I'm interested in.
So what comics would you say you're like mostly into? Like what would you say your big comics are?
It was X-Men for sure.
Okay.
Like I have X-Men from like going back to issues from the 60s, like all the way to maybe a couple years ago. And then I switched over to digital, because that closet behind all those toys is full of comic books.
So you actually read, so people actually do read digital comics.
Honestly, I prefer it.
Oh wow, okay. I was like, I mean, I know they do it, and I guess they wouldn't do it if people weren't actually reading it. But I know, especially as a collector, we like that.
It was weird to shift like mindsets, but it's more convenient, and the space is a huge thing.
Well, then I'm also, if the music doesn't fit on this thing, I don't care. I don't want records. I don't want CDs. I don't want tapes. It needs to fit on this thing, right? People are completely different, and I understand that because I used to be the same way about like DVDs and Blu-rays. I'm like, I like having the physical. Now it's like I can just, well, if I don't have the streaming service with it on it, I can just go ahead and purchase it, and there it is on my iTunes, and I'll have it forever.
When the internet was like fairly new, I started getting on chat rooms and trading cartoons and like old TV shows.
Okay.
And I would run like a server, and like I encoded all of my VHSs and threw them away, and it felt so good to get rid of them. So like I've embraced digital pretty much since it started.
Yeah, like again with the music, it took me, I would say, a little bit of time. Once you realize how at least once I realized the way that I could get everything on, I didn't care. Like I didn't. I got rid of my tapes and I got rid of my VHS stuff, especially my skateboard videos, which I regret because they're worth a lot of money now. The tapes that I threw away because I needed to make space. Talk about regretting that, because when you see how much some of those things are worth now, I'm like, what the fuck? But again, you're not thinking like that. You're looking at cassettes going, and VHS, you're like, this isn't worth anything. And then when like people are like, hey, have you ever seen how much those big Disney VHS tapes are worth? And you're like, no, I haven't. How? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, fuck.
I want to know.
Yeah. Why did someone not tell me that? Why didn't future Larry come back and go, hey, don't get rid of that. Just go put it at your dad somewhere and then go back and get it. Oz says, I miss the tactile feel and sounds of VHS, but yes, digital is a huge space saver, except those crypt toys. Fuck that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to switch to digital toys, although I guess video games are kind of in that vein.
Well, McFarlane is trying to get you to switch to the digital.
Yeah.
Look at this. We call it Phygital. What? You get a digital picture of it. Like I can just go Google it. All right. I don't understand that whole. I know someone trying to explain it. I don't understand the like. I can just Google the Green Lantern. I don't need you to give me a digital picture of it. All right.
I mean, I would kind of understand it if it was like a 3D model that you could completely like play with, but
if it was a 3D model that was like maybe a 3D print, that's what Fist, like Fist Toys, that's what he was giving you, like a model head that you could 3D print with every figure. It's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
Maybe give it where you can print this figure as much as you want, with different arms, or who knows, right? You can't give too much away. And not everyone has a 3D printer that can actually do that. Even if you have a 3D printer, doesn't mean you can do that. So again, it'd be a little bit, but if you're already charging a little more, but at least make it seem like it's something, right? I just, then he has a name for it, digital, and you're like, what?
He likes his
right?
He likes his labels though, like his statues are posed action figures.
I heard that one.
Yeah.
Because when he said statues, you think of that they're you don't think of plastic. You think of, what did he say it was? Not ceramic, but like clay or whatever. And I'm like, no, they're statues.
If they don't articulate, they're statues.
They're posed action figures. So are shampoo bottles, right? It's the same fucking thing. So when you get into high school, what types of things did you get into? Obviously, you said you still collect the comic books.
Music a lot, mostly metal. I would go down to the warehouse and buy a CD. Every time I had money, I would like go look through used because they were cheaper, and just I'd buy like all the metal I could find.
So that is one thing I definitely miss about hard copies is reading through. At least, again, I can't say for metal. I'm assuming it's the same, but I know with the punk bands, we would read through the covers and see what bands they thanked, and then we'd go down and buy it, or we'd go through the punk section and find used stuff, like you said, and some people would buy records. Once CDs started coming, it seemed to be a lot easier, tapes. But yeah, that I miss because sometimes you find some really good gems. Other times you find music you never want to hear again.
That's true. That's a lot. And I would also I would look at album covers and because some of them have like that really cool like fantasy art. So I'd try them out. And...
We used to go looking through records. I'm gonna see if you know this one. And my old friend found. I don't know if he found it, but he's the one that bought it. And the band was called Uncle Sam. And the cover was, there's two different covers. I didn't know this for the longest time. The cover of the album that he found was on the record, and it was from the waist down of a female with a razor blade shaving her bush.
No, but I do remember the pungent stench where it was, it's like a stuffed monkey shoving a banana in that area, and then it had like a sensor over.
See, no, there's no sense. Now, there's another album cover, if you look, that she has a G string on. So you don't get to see it. You can see the razor. But this was, you could see everything. And every time that we'd go somewhere, we'd go to the mall or whatever, he'd take the album cover out and put it on his dashboard. So anybody walking by would fucking see it. And it gets to the point that, like, the sun starts fading it and shit. But, like, it was so bad. And I don't even know. I don't think he found it. I think someone else found it. Of course, he was going to be the one to buy it. But we stopped at the mall, and he reached down, pulled that thing out, and put it in his on his dashboard. So anyone walking by, and now as someone now with kids, I'm like, man, that type of stuff is so wrong. But as a kid, you're not thinking that.
Yeah, no.
And I could say we were kids at the time, doing some really stupid stuff, but it was very comical, very comical. So you get into metal. No sports, right? You don't like sports ball.
No, I did start playing drums too, though. So I played drums for a while. Never like anything big, like garages and parks and stuff like that.
But did you play in bands then?
I played with my cousin who played bass and his friend who played guitar, and then I played with a death metal band a couple times because their drummer like bailed on them. So I was like the backup guy.
Okay, so. You got into metal, so what bands did you like in high school? What were the bands that you first found? Because I can't speak for all types of music. I can tell you, for me, like, punk was a lifestyle, and I feel like the Burnouts, and I kind of feel like that's what you probably were. That was a lifestyle. Like you fall in love with music. I don't think people fall in love with pop music, right? Because they're just told what to like by radio DJ. Sorry to anyone that I'm offending. Don't worry, I offended a whole shitload of people on Monday. I might as well offend more people today. I feel like people that like pop music, I'm not saying you don't like pop, but you're told what's cool. But I think when you're like into punk, metal, I would assume if you're into like underground rap, the same thing. Like you fall in love with specific things. Yeah. What bands did you like fall in love with?
So Metallica was probably like one of my early ones. Pantera, Testament, and Testament. Then for like death metal stuff like Death, Morbid Angel. That was a lot of the stuff I was listening to at that time.
So I love Testament. Or I used to love Testament. I loved Exodus. Exodus had. Talk about a guy with a very unique voice. And he used to be the singer of Testament too, which doesn't, or is it vice versa?
I honestly don't know.
One of them was I don't know. Either way, it wouldn't. It doesn't compute how like one could. But I used to love Anthrax. Up into Persistence of Time. They came out with the white. Was it the white Sound of White Noise?
Sound of White Noise. That was when they switched singers.
Yeah, when they went to who? It was the Armored Saint guy. And what made no sense to me was Armored Saint sounded so much like Anthrax until he sang for Anthrax, and I was like, "This is awful."
I actually really like that album though.
Really?
Yeah.
So funny story is I bought the tape and I hated it. And there was another metal kid who was a year younger than me in the class that I was in. And I was like, well, do you want to buy it off me? I'm like, if you don't like it, they go, if you don't like it, I'll buy it back from you. Okay. I knew he didn't like it. I acted like I was asleep every day before class. And then once class started, we bolted right away. And like years later, he was dating a girl that I knew and we were talking and he brought it up and I'm like, I knew you wanted your money back and I was not going I did not want that album anywhere near me. Okay, so did you like Napalm Death?
Oh man, I hated Napalm Death.
Really?
Yeah, I know a lot of people like them, but I don't remember what album it was, but I picked up an album from them and they have like 30-second songs that just I was like, I can't do it.
So I never liked death metal. And my buddy, one of my best friends, he loved it. I used to think Sepultura was death metal. It's so not death metal. It's just his voice, right? Well, the original. I don't like new Sepultura. I don't really care about them. If it doesn't have the Cavalieros, then I'm sorry, it's not. It's not Sepultura in my opinion. And I couldn't stand any death metal, but Napalm Death was the one band. I couldn't tell you one song of theirs now, but I remember starting to like. I remember starting to like it, and I never really liked death. That was just too, just.
I didn't really appreciate death metal until I started playing drums, and then just like the technicality of a lot of those death metal songs is like pretty freaking crazy. For especially stuff that just gets like it's death metal. It's just noise, but it's like there's a lot going on in those bands.
Well, that's what like a lot of people. So, if you play music, I know Brick is still here. So when people talk about punk, a lot of people say, "Well, it's just 3 chords," and I understand that. But what's funny, it's like I tell people, I go, I understand punk is not the most under normal circumstances. It's not the most complicated music to play, but a lot of those musicians are amazing musicians. They just like the sound and like to play a different type of music that isn't very complicated. It doesn't mean that they're not good musicians. Especially you see guys like Rancid and all of them, like they play fucking amazing, especially like Strung Out. I hear all kinds of things, but it is one of those things where it's like, just because someone doesn't play super hard stuff doesn't mean that it's not, that they're not good musicians. And I've heard the same thing about death metal and metal in general. I mean, just when you hear Slayer, and I know very little about music, but I can understand, and I've listened to people, and they're like, who was the original? I don't know if he's the original drummer for Slayer. He's the one who I think they kicked him out.
I'm bad. Like I can't think of it. I'm bad with like names and like those kind of people. Like,
and he was the one that I remember. They talked about him and his double bass, and they were like, as soon as Lombardo, thank you very much, Francie.
Okay.
Once he left, they're like, you could tell the other guy could not keep up. So this is okay. So Francie brings up Propaganda. They're a punk band. They're kind of like a metal band out of Canada. They make great music. I like their sound, but I just cannot get on with their fucking politics. It is very, especially when you're a Canadian and you're bitching about U.S. politics. There comes a point that it's like, all right, dude, enough is enough.
politically, I'm an anarchist. I think we should throw all the politicians into a wood shredder and just be done with it. It's something I don't broadcast very much on, anything, but
politics are they're very essential when it comes to punk rock. It is a huge part of it. Society, politics. People may not think so, but it is such a huge thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, music in general, like, there's a lot of political messaging.
But it's just, I don't know. There's something about their stuff that I like their music. I like their sound. But if I listen to it too much, I'm like, all right, dude, I've had enough of you. Francis says, nope, Napalm Death are political as it gets. As it all get out. Napalm Death are political as all get out. I'm not sure if I understand that. I read it wrong, and then I read it right, and I don't think I even...
They're highly political?
Maybe. And again, I'm not... this just... They brought up Propaganda. I call him Propagami. Just my personal opinion. But anyway, it's good. The more and more I talk to people in this community, I'm finding out there's more hardcore people and more punk guys, more metal. Again, when you bring up actual like metal bands, I like to hear that, especially Testament. Like I said, I
love Testament.
I used to love Testament. I think the guy has a really, really good voice. I like Good Riddance, and I can honestly say I don't really listen to their lyrics because they're not like my biggest. Propaganda is very like that is what they do, at least what stands out every time I hear them, and maybe because it's a lot of the stuff that the way they start off. Rick, we've talked about this type of stuff before. I don't talk about people. I don't like to talk about politics on here, and again, it wouldn't matter what side it is because I think they're all absolute bunch of assholes.
Yeah, the system is completely broken and we need to do something.
Nolan, the fucking name pisses me off. Dude, I will say that right now. I will not listen to that band because of their name. And I've heard a lot of their stuff, and I think their songs actually sound pretty good. But just the fucking name. All right? I'll just leave it at that. All right? And again, I like NoFX. And I know they're political. Right? I know their shit too. So I don't know how we got into that. Oh, because this is me and we go all over the place. All right, so you played music. You got into music. Did you see a lot of concerts out there?
Yeah, for a while I would go to concerts every time people came around and stuff.
So that's one thing I totally miss is going to concerts. And I started going back to concerts, but now it's like I'll go to shows by myself. I used to always look at the guy at the back of the punk show, just sitting there like this, watching the show. And I used to always tell my friends, I never want to be that guy. Now I am that guy, and I'm so happy to be that guy because I'm like, I don't need to be in the pit anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I have nothing to prove.
At all.
Yeah. I have nothing to prove. The last time I was in one, someone fell on my ankle, and it blew up. And my buddy
last one I was in actually had like explosions going off.
Man. Yes, I don't. Yeah, I know Brick. He's played shows all over the country and stuff, so he knows what it's like. I mean, I see a lot of these guys are still in their 50s and they're still like, they're trying to get people going. And I know, like, Sick of It All, they would make jokes about like, hey, we know all you guys are our age because none of you guys are in the pit. Like, nope.
Damn right.
You see like the 1 or 2 50-year-olds that are in there and they're pissed off because no one else is, and it's like, man, I have nothing to prove. I have not one thing to prove. All right.
Yeah.
It is it's just not going to get there. Uh, Brick says anti-flag is a name just like Bad Religion. You're absolutely correct, but I've also heard their music too, and their music is very anti-America. Bad Religion it's a bad religion, and again, I'll leave it. You can see if you can't figure out, there's one thing that I like more than the other. All right. I'm not a person anti-religion.
Flag over cross, huh?
Yeah, I'm not someone that's anti-religion at all. My dad is very Catholic or whatever. And I grew up. I grew up Catholic, and I think I've told the story how I hated going to church on Sunday because you know what was on at the same time? Transformers. And I tried everything, and my dad made me go. And my mom was Lutheran, so she didn't go to church. And boy, was I mad that I wasn't Lutheran.
My dad's side of the family is Lutheran. My mom's Jewish, so like religion was kind of like always like
It's there.
Yeah. Well, it was like we have like our, I would go to church with my grandma every once in a while, and then my mom, like, she never really went to synagogues or anything. Like recently, she got back into it, and I went a couple times with her because she just wanted someone to go with her. But it wasn't really part of my childhood religion in general.
Yeah, like I said, my dad, he made my sister and I go. I can't tell you how many times I tried sleeping in, how many times I begged saying, I'll watch one of those church people, on TV today after. I just want to watch, because you could try and record it, but we all know if the VCR didn't work properly, there was no DVR, you were screwed. You didn't see Transformers. So I didn't see a lot of episodes of Transformers for quite some time. And it sucked because you knew it was on and you knew you were in church.
And all your friends were watching it.
Absolutely miserable. So, oh well. I can now watch it whenever I want somewhere on some sort of digital media. Or I go buy a hard copy. All right. So that's pretty much what you did throughout high school.
Yeah.
Did you work throughout high school? You didn't do anything like
no, I didn't start working until I was right out of high school. Actually, no, that's not true. I had a part-time job right at the end of high school where I was a janitor for an office building. I would go and clean it on the weekends and stuff.
Okay. Well, okay, since you talked about music, do you remember do you remember the best of your favorite concerts you had seen? Like in high school, or maybe right after you graduated?
The year I graduated, I saw the Ozfest in Vegas, 97. It was like Typo Negative, Pantera, Marilyn Manson, Fear Factory, Sabbath reuniting with Ozzy. Like, it was a great show.
Let me ask you this. And I know Brick will probably chime in. Did you like Suicidal Tendencies?
I love Suicidal Tendencies. I still listen to Suicidal Tendencies.
What kind of music is Suicidal Tendencies?
I would say it's in between punk and metal.
Okay. See, I always thought them was metal, but they always considered themselves punk, and I'm like, they're not punk or hardcore at all. But when you listen to them, you're like, you're not really metal either. You know what I mean? Like it's really
they're
weird.
Kind of in between. They have some songs that are punkier, some that are more metal.
Yeah. But I never they're not hardcore. Hardcore I think is completely different. They have longer songs. We all know punk songs are, 2.5 minutes. If it hits 3 minutes, it's like, what are you doing? How can you, But okay, so Christoph says they're crossover. But what are they a crossover of? I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, they're not fully metal.
Genres are like kind of weird to me in general. Like, I know there's like break points of like it's this aggressive, it's this kind of metal, or but to be honest, I just kind of listen to what I wanted to listen to.
Okay, so Brick says punk ain't a sound. I disagree. Punk music is a fucking sound. Maybe being punk rock, it's a state of mind, but punk is a sound. You can't But then again, if you went and you listened to Guttermouth, you might not think that's punk, considering the type of stuff they do, or even some of NoFX's stuff. And I know, Brick is a punk, a musician, so. And Infectious Grooves is, again, that was more like funk.
Infectious Grooves too.
But see, that was funk. That was more like this funk metal style.
The guy who taught me drums, the guy who taught him, was the guy from Infectious Grooves.
Okay. And like I said, and again, thank you, Joe. Guttermouth is hilarious. They're the between them and the Vandals. I don't know if there's more politically incorrect bands ever. And if you've seen Guttermouth in person, they are that offensive in person too. Agnostic Front is pure hardcore. Like, they are pioneers of hardcore. I know people say they're like hardcore metal, but they're just hardcore. The pioneers of hardcore. Yeah, I forget what I was going to say.
I think punk and metal kind of like always have like a similar vibe.
Well, metal I know takes a lot from the punk scene, but punk has always been more grounded in political aspects, like relation, society, different things like that. Metal, I've always had an issue getting really into metal because most of their stuff, in my opinion, their songs didn't have a point. Does that make sense?
I kind of disagree. Like, I think metal is more prone to kind of mask it in like a poetry.
And that might be yeah, and that might be it. Like punk is like, this is what it is. Like, when you hear a song and you listen, and you're like, all right, fuck Authority from Pennywise. Like, it's pretty much in there. You listen to American Jesus by Bad Religion, like, you kind of get it. And I do want to say quickly, I'm not insulting Suicidal Tendencies because I think Lights Camera Revolution, well, it's their best album, and you can have a different opinion, but you're wrong. And You Can't Bring Me Down is their best song, and you can have a different opinion, but you'd be wrong.
I like Nobody Hears. Like, I love that song.
Yeah, I know, but like I said, You Can't Bring Me Down. It's every punk rocker, and I can't believe I'm saying that when I'm saying I don't see them as punk. I never did, as they were. Like, when they talked about it, I was like, I never saw you guys as punk. I always saw you more because they always travel with the metal guys. Like, they always went on concert with the metal guys. Yeah. Cobb says, off to work. Lawrence, anti-flag wasn't a jab at your ship. You need a Pepsi. Like, everyone. I love the fact that everyone is like, there's so many people know this. Minor Threat, Gorilla Biscuits. Okay, Gorilla Biscuits just played last Sunday. I should have went. I've never seen them. I saw Civ one time at the first Warped Tour. Minor Threat, okay, get ready for it. I think I'm the only straightish guy that does not like Minor Threat. Ian MacKaye, to me, is a fucking whiner. He's just a whiner. Mr. Wonderful has joined us, and GG78 depends on what kind of metal. Glam, yeah, that's pretty shallow. Thrash is a difference. And it is. I like thrash metal. I just feel like most of them don't have. Again, I have a hard time, I guess, finding it, or at least.
Well, Rick brought up Megadeth. I mean, Peace Sells. Like, come on, that's a political song. Like, Pantera had a bunch.
So, what I have to say about Megadeth is really good till Dave Mustaine starts singing.
I know you don't like Dave Mustaine. I like Megadeth, though. So.
I'm sorry. Like, I like Hangar 18, but I feel like, and this is gonna offend some of the musicians. I feel like every Megadeth song sounds the exact same. But I also, hear me out. Ace of Spades. Who sings Ace of Spades?
The Motorhead?
Yes, Motorhead. Every Motorhead song sounds the exact same. You can listen to the music, take the lyrics away, and you can start singing Ace of Spades to it. I swear to God. Triple H, he comes out to a Motorhead song, and you can start singing Ace of Spades to it. And if you like it, that's cool. I don't care.
I was never a big Motorhead guy. AC/DC, I feel that way about. Like, I cannot stand AC/DC. I know people love them, but I never saw the appeal.
So AC/DC. Well, this is my problem with AC/DC. So AC/DC had a bunch of songs. They used them in one of the skate videos. It was a promo, and then it got taken away. So there's certain songs, including obviously the song from Iron Man was also in the skate video. But there used to be a punk channel on Sirius XM. And then one day it went away and became the AC/DC channel. And from that moment, I really hated AC/DC. Because there was like one channel that I listened to for punk and I found new music. And they took it away for AC/DC. And like you said, all their songs sound the same. And Brick says, I've come to appreciate AC/DC in my old age. And that is very true about a lot of
I'll give it to them. Like, they can groove. Like, their beats aren't bad. I never really got the mass appeal they have. And the voice, like, oh my God, both their singers sound like someone's stepping on their throat. It drives me crazy.
Nolan said the same thing. When they got rid of the punk channel, I got rid of them. It was. And then I remember I called about it, and they're like, there's still a punk channel. It's on like 308, but you have to have the app. And at that time, everything wasn't integrated. I'm like, I don't want it. It's on my car. I don't have, I think it was 308. It was like so hot. I'm like, I don't have that. I want to just turn this on and listen to it. No. I'm like, all right, fuck you. So Nolan, I'm right there with you. I'm absolutely right there with you. Francie says, damn, Minor Threat is a bit older than I thought. Oh, dude, Minor Threat has been around forever. But do you know who Bad Brains are?
Yeah.
I say the same thing about Bad Brains. So Bad Brains have some awesome songs, but I think their other songs suck. They're like either awesome or I think they suck. I don't like reggae. But you give us this metal reggae and, again, or hardcore reggae, it's really hardcore. But then they do their other reggae, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need that. I don't need to hear that. But I love talking about this shit because it's different. Like we can really only talk toys so much. It's great to hear what other people are into, and the fact that you are so in. Like you obviously know a lot about music, and you've never really discussed that. At least not when I've been on the show with you.
No, I mean, I'm not as knowledgeable as like a lot of people. Like, I don't remember what songs are off what albums. I'm bad with like band members' names and stuff. But I listen to a lot of music.
When I was younger, I remembered all the hardcore bands, like the hardcore and punk bands. I knew all like who was in the band before, what their side projects were. If you've gotten older, you're like, well, I know Pennywise, and I know that's their song, but I don't know the names of the songs anymore. Like I used to know the names of like every song on the album, what order. I think when you listen to it, especially on cassette, because every time you put the cassette back in, it was right where, CDs, it restarted over, right? You knew every song, like you knew all the different songs. Now it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's on that Bad Religion album. Which one?
And I rarely listen to like a full album these days. It's like thousands of songs on a randomized playlist,
Yeah, especially like if you have Spotify and it's just kind of rotating. I know I caught that the singer Pennywise, when he left Pennywise, he started the Black Pacific. And then he got back in Pennywise. I thought Black Pacific was done. I see they came out with a new album. So I'm like, oh, awesome. I go on Spotify. I punch it in there. So I was playing some of his old stuff. I hear the song that I heard. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Another old one, and then another new one comes on. I'm like, this is okay. And then I hear another one. I'm like, this sounds like fucking Green Day. Right? This fucking song's exactly like Green Day. All right. I don't even know how he made himself sound like a fucking Green Day, but he should stop. So I think there ended up being like 2.5 songs that I liked. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't go buy this album. Like back in the day, I would have had to buy the album and then just be like, I hate this.
Yeah, but I mean, you buy an album and you listen to it, and then songs that you were like kind of on after a while grow on you, and they become your new favorite track. Like,
Nolan says Lars Fredrickson and the Bastards have been my go-to lately. I cannot believe how long ago those 2 albums came out. Lars Fredrickson is a huge toy collector. A huge toy collector. I know when I had Shartimus on, he was talking about it, and he said he was going to try and get him on. And then he messaged me and said, yeah, he's like, I'm trying to get Lars on, and then I never heard back from him. That was like a year ago. I should reach out to him again and say, hey, do you ever like hear from Lars? But he's like a huge toy collector. Like he said, it's like selling off a lot of his stuff. Anyway, so let's move on because I could sit here all day. I know when I was on Brick Show, Highly Articulated was highly aggravated that we weren't talking toys and we just talked music the whole time. So after you graduated, did you go on to college or did you just?
I went to City College, and I was going to that full-time and working a part-time job and working a full-time job. So I did that for a while. Didn't really have time for much, although I did make time to like go and drink with my friends, probably more than I should have.
So did you end up graduating?
I got my AA, but it was back when you could get a general AA, which they don't even do anymore, and I have an AA and nothing. So,
well, but you have one, so
I have one, and then a while back I finished up some credits, so now I can substitute teach in California, which I never did anything with because I just ended up falling into my last couple jobs.
So do you substitute teach, or do you just
no? But I passed the CBEST. I have like the credits I need for child development and other stuff. I never actually did it because I fell into my last 2 jobs.
So what would you actually like substitute teach, like a specific class or anything?
Any from like kindergarten through high school, like I could technically do it. I have the qualification to do it.
I have a feeling that when they do the background check and they found your Instagram,
my name's not on that Instagram.
Okay, okay, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And you don't show your face on it, so.
I mean, I do. There's a couple pictures of me, not very many though, because it's not a personal.
You could just say, but hey, look, you could just say. I showed him earlier. All the wrestling fans, you can just say that Stevie Richards right here. Stevie Richards right there. You'd be like, oh, that's Stevie Richards. That has nothing to do with me. We said he looked like Al Snow a while back, and he didn't know who that was. And I brought him on, and I have this over here, and I'm like, holy fuck, he looks like Stevie Richards. So you got your general.
I got my general AA. And I was working full time at the nursing home that I'm working at now. Back then, I worked there for about 5 years, and then I left. Dispute with management. Still having disputes with management 20 years later. And then after that, what did I do? Trying to think what my next job was. I think I was working at the golf course. I started working at the golf course. I just walked in. I was like, hey, you guys hiring? And the manager of the clubhouse was like, come talk to me. And talked to him for like 10 minutes, had a job. And that was a cool job. I was like cleaning up for parties, setting up for parties, serving, bartending. We would go to other clubhouse restaurants and like fix them up, make sure they were like doing good. So I did that for about 5 years. And then when that manager retired, we had a string of just like terrible managers. So I left there. And then I worked at Game Crazy for a while, which was the game store inside of Hollywood Video. And that was fun. Just working in a video game store with my cousin. Yeah, it was Hollywood Video had like their, video thing, but on the side there would be a little game store.
I don't think they had that here in Michigan.
I don't know. They were all over the place in California because I would go to different ones sometimes to work and cover, help do inventory or other tasks.
So okay, so you went to a nursing home. What do you and you work back in the nursing home now?
Yeah. Both
What-
times I started in activity and then transitioned into doing transportation. So activities was cool. You just kind of hang out with the residents. We'd do movie day, poker, bingo, Pictionary. Like, you just play games and hang out with them, talk to them.
Okay. So, my second job was working at Shelby Nursing Center in the kitchen, and all my friends, a lot of my friends, and I mean a lot, all worked there at some point, and they all told me, "Don't work here. It is awful." Now, mind you, I'm coming off working at Ponderosa. I started at $4.25 an hour. I think I made it to like $5.15. I'm 18. They're paying, I think it was $6.75 an hour to start. You never worked past 8 o'clock. And I worked actually from 10 to 6. That was my shift. I was the porter. So I would wash all the pots and pans. I would take the food carts out. I'd grab them. I'd bring them back. I would help run if anything, if they needed something on the line. All my friends told me don't do it. And I had friends that had quit there. And one of my friends, his mom, she worked up in the front. So that's how everyone got the job. And sure enough, I'm like, dude, this job can't be bad. That was when I was 18. I think I worked there a year and a half. It was the absolute, to this day, worst job I ever had. It wasn't even bad. It paid good for what I was as a kid. The hours were good. I ate like a fucking king. The cook would come around. She's like, I don't know how you're eating. Every time I come around the corner, you're eating, but you always have your jobs done, so I don't care. But the manager made it so miserable. So miserable. I would sit there on my girlfriend's floor, just like have nervous fucking breakdowns as a kid. And one of the guys that I worked with, he was a good friend of mine. He'd be like, dude, like he'd be sitting there with me. He's like, man, I don't know why you're like, I know it's bad, but I'm like, I don't know. And I'll never forget. He was over my house one day, and he called. And this was before we had cell phones, right? So he calls home, and his dad or his mom was like, yeah, Fran called from Shelby. She wants you to call her. And he's like, oh, I gotta call Fran. I'm like, no, you're not calling her right now, because she just wants you to come in. Someone called in. He's like, I have to. I'm like, no, we're gonna call in at 11:40 or 11:50. Why? I'm like, because they're on fucking line. They're short. She can't come to the phone. And he's like, okay. So he calls up, and he's like, and James was like this really nice, low-key guy, exact opposite of me. And the girl answers the phone, and she's like, and she says the dietary whatever, and he goes, I'm sitting there, and he goes, let me talk to Fran. And I was like, well, who is this guy? And she's like, hold on one second. And she goes, she can't come to she can't come to the phone. She's on the line. She's super busy right now. Can I tell her? And he says, tell her James called and I'm doing just fine. And he hangs up the phone, and I was like, dude, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that.
I worked in a kitchen at a different nursing home for a while, and I had that scene from Office Space where like a bunch of different bosses come and talk to you about the exact same thing, the TPS reports or whatever. But it was the time clock, and it wasn't like it messed up. It didn't take my punch, and I had to fill out paperwork or whatever. It's like, okay, it's handled. But I had people like all day come and talk to me about it. I just took off my apron by the third boss, and I just like threw it in her face. I'm like, I don't think I work here anymore, and I just walked out.
I think we've all had bosses that are like that. It's like, how many times can you talk to me about this?
Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't anything I could control, so it's like, oh, okay. Like I filled out the paper, the time clock messed up. I don't know what you want me to do about it.
It's not even that big of a deal. All you have to do, I mean, it's fixed, right?
And at the time, I was I didn't actually need the money. I have when my dad passed, he left me a house, and I rented out, so I had income from that.
Okay.
And I was just like, I don't need to do this, so I just was like, done.
So you said you're back in this nurse. How long have you been there?
6.5 years since I came back.
And what do you mind me asking what you do?
So like I said, I started in activities and then I moved into transportation. So activities had a van and they would take people out on field trips. But at a certain point, the company transitioned that van into driving to doctor's appointments.
Okay.
So now I do drives for the doctor's appointments, but then I also schedule for like insurance companies to come pick up. So I drive people who don't have transportation covered with their insurance, and then I book the insurance appointments. So
why? I feel like sometimes it seems like you're working super late.
So that's somebody went out for a dialysis and then nobody picked them up. So I have to go pick them up. Or like next month, I'm going to Los Banos, which is like an hour and a half away from where I'm at, just for one appointment. So, you know, like,
I'm just thinking about that poor person at dialysis, and they're like,
yeah, it happens a lot. So like the big insurances all route through one company, and that company is completely incompetent. You can't do anything about it because they're the ones in control of all the transportation. So it's a nightmare. Like, it's honestly a nightmare. And then my bosses get mad, like, well, why does this always happen? I'm like, because we have to deal with these people. Like, I've even talked to the straight state reps of that company, and like I can't get anything resolved. I just have to deal with incompetence. Did you watch the Loki show where he's like holding the timeline together, like all the different strands? I feel like that with incompetence. Like, I'm like literally just trying to hold everything together, and that's my job.
You're the Loki of incompetence.
Yeah.
GI Pro says, how do you say it?
Los Banos.
Los Banos is truly the toilet. And Johnny, I will ask that when we get to that part about his content, because we talked about that before we went on air. So don't worry about that. And Graf is joining us saying, Thanos as a guest, sweet, and late enough now to show adult content. No.
If you want to show what I posted this Wednesday.
No, that's okay. I worked really hard to be monetized and be able to afford the toys that I buy. I don't need any of your pictures ruining it for me.
Fair enough.
But there's a link that you guys can go see it, because Instagram doesn't seem to give a shit. Right? Amazing that people will strike me for pictures that I put up and I'll lose my channel, but you have stuff like that. Nobody's
not after tonight. I'm gonna get taken down.
Not from these bunch of man. Like these guys are bigger degenerates than I am, so you don't need to worry about that.
Me too.
Allison says, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the bathroom. All right, so that's the reason why you're always talking about working late. I also understand. I guess I could fully understand why you're going in early too, considering.
Sometimes I have like a doctor's appointment at 5 a.m. I got to get someone there, so I go in to work at 4:30 in the morning. Like, I've literally worked 17-hour days at that job. So,
dude, that going back to my working at the nursing home, I remember doing the same thing. Like, it was like over and over and over. That's actually when I finally left. I don't know. I even to this day, I drive by the place. There's few things that I flip off, and that is one thing I flip off every fucking time I drive by it.
I love my residence. Like, that place is like a special place for me. My dad was a nurse there for like 18 years. I used to volunteer there as a kid. And then, I worked there for, 5 years a long time ago. And then, but the management is terrible. Like it's
So, if anyone has ever worked in a nursing home, and we have nursing homes for our copy machines, they have a distinct smell.
they have a few distinct smells. Depends what's going on, what people's conditions are.
Yeah, and again, so there's certain ones that, I mean, I will walk in and I can, it takes me right back. And my buddy, the one that I worked with, he still works in the nursing homes. They had brought in a chef to make the food look nicer. Like the puree stuff, they would mold it so it actually looked like lettuce, but it was puree.
I do not miss pureeing food at all.
Yeah. And I remember I was doing stock one day, and he was like, "You know what? I'm not going to be here forever." He goes, "You could go to school for culinary, get a job, or, get a culinary degree, and then you could have my job." And I'm like, "I want to fucking work here." I told James, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, and I told him, and he's like, that week or like within 2 weeks, he went down, signed up for culinary arts, graduated. He worked there. He now lives up about 4 hours away from me, doing the same thing. I was in a nursing home a few years ago. It smelled like Shelby all over again. And I texted him, and I'm like, "Dude, I had to walk into this nursing home for some work. All I could smell was Shelby." And he responded back and said, "I smell that every day." And I said, "That's your fucking fault." When I told you what Jeff said to me, I didn't expect you that, hey, you know what? I'm going to run out there right now and go into this. You're the one that's stuck here 20 years later, 30 years
Honestly,
later.
when I came back to this job and I was just working activities, I was super happy. I was like, I'll probably retire here. But the year and a half that I've been doing transportation has been just super frustrating.
Johnny says, flipping off the guards at the DOD site is usually frowned upon, but we have an understanding. But it sounds like you're also not in the nursing home all the time.
It depends. Some days, like today, I only had a few drives around town. So, like, I was in the building 90% of the day. But then I have other days where I'm literally, like, back and forth from different towns, like, 10 to 12 hours a day. Like, just drive.
Do you ever have residents that try and escape?
It's happened.
So we were not allowed. Again, we're talking the 90s, right? So to say the security systems weren't as developed as they are now would be an understatement. But if you went out the back door and you had one of their badges on, an alarm would go off. But they wouldn't know what door it was. It could be any of the doors. And we would sit out there. And every now and then when we get out, and we would cheer them on. Now, mind you, we were told we cannot interfere with them. And also, it's the back. They're not going up towards the front. And one day, one got out, and they made it across the parking lot. And the parking lot wasn't like a big parking lot. And we're cheering them on. And I just remember the nurses running out, and the one nurse looked at us and went, "We can't help them. Like, they want to get away." All right?
When I worked there before, there was a guy, and he would go out the front door, and I would just follow him, and I'd walk with him and talk with him and kind of redirect him around back to the building. And like he was confused by the time we got back to the building, he was ready to come back in. But he would like fire me every day, and like he literally thought he owned the place and he could do whatever he wanted. But I love that guy, you know.
See, you and I have a really different, like, we're the same in a lot of ways. Don't take a lot of stuff serious, but like, I don't know. Would you cheer on them to try and get across? I mean,
No. I don't want to get hit by a car or anything, you know.
No. This was the back, so like there was nowhere to go, but like and we knew this. We knew that because the alarm was going off. We knew the nurses would get there. They just had to find out which one it was at. If it was on the front towards Shaner, that's the main street, but they would have a long way to get there. The old people didn't move too quick.
Yeah. We also had a guy, it was in the memory care unit, and they have like their own little patio, and he had kicked out a board, gone through the alley in the back, and hitchhiked his way to a town over, and they found him at a truck stop.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's like had Alzheimer's. Like he was...
Well, 3-star here says Punk would have let him into the street. We were told we were not allowed to interfere, so I was just doing my job. There was nothing in there that said we couldn't cheer them on. I thought we were. These days, you know what? It feels good to have people cheer you on, right?
I would not do that, but
my grandfather, he was in. I wasn't there. He was in a nursing home. He had Alzheimer's, and they were after the Christmas party years ago. They were my cousins were outside. They were smoking or whatever, and they said there was someone across the street. Van Dyke is like this big street, and there was somebody there's an old guy walking around, and someone was like, "Wow, that looks like Grandpa." And then someone else took a better look, and they're like, "Dude, that is Grandpa."
Holy shit, that's Grandpa.
He got out of the nursing home, which was right there on the other side, and it's winter. And again, we're Michigan, so it's fucking cold. He's walking around in his gown and shit, and they had to fucking go get him and take him back there. And my dad was like, "Yeah, your grandmother was not too thrilled about that." She was.
So we have another thing that's kind of interesting in the nursing home. Like, there's people in their 50s in the nursing home now. Like, they're just in that bad of shape, and they live in the nursing home, which is a completely different situation than like elderly people or whatnot. But we have a guy, like, he just sits out in the middle of the road and drinks, but he's his own RP, and he's in his 50s, he's with it, other than his body,
Man,
so it's a weird situation.
I mean, that's like less than 2 years away from me. I don't even think about being in my 50s. Ed could be there, huh?
Could be.
Action Figs might be there. He might not make it to Joe Fest because he's going to be in the nursing home.
People younger and younger are ending up in those places. And actually, the first time I worked there was a girl, she was a year younger than me, and she was like completely paralyzed because she was hit by a drunk driver. Yeah, that was like one of the saddest things. She lived in the nursing home as, she was like 19 or something like that when I was working there.
That's awful. Like that, yeah, that's... And the nursing homes that we have, like we have a big nursing home. The ones in Detroit, they're awful. Yeah.
I would say mine's probably a medium one. It's not the worst one. It's not even the worst one I've worked at. But they could do a lot better.
Well, the company that owns them, like the ones in Detroit are awful. When you get outside of it, those are pretty nice ones. And I'm just like, you better don't ever put me in one of these. There are some nice... I mean, the one that I worked at was a nice one. I just have such a horrible... Again, how it could be my worst job.
Worst job I ever had is I had it for one day, and I had to clean a truck stop bathroom. And I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm not going to work here.
That sounds... I've seen truck stop bathrooms.
Yeah.
When you find a bathroom where you're like, yeah, you know what? It'd be cleaner not to wash my hands than to use that sink. It's bad.
Yeah. That was actually my first job, and I quit it the first day. And my dad just laughed at me the whole time when he picked me up.
That's awesome. I
was fine because I was dishwasher. I was like, I can wash dishes, but then they wanted me to clean the bathroom, and after that, I was just like, no, I'm out of here. I can't do this.
Johnny says, was there a glory hole? Yeah, that's where he gets inspiration for some of his.
I would say that's where my origin story started.
My dad worked. He retired, so he couldn't stand being in the house. So he worked at the Home Depot, and he would just go get carts. Like, that's what he would do. And then one day he goes, somebody shit on the floor, like next to the toilet, and they wanted me to clean it up, and he was like, nope. And I said, no, I don't do that. I push carts. And they're like, well, then, and I said, I don't need to work. I don't need this job. So I don't. And that was it. Like, because I'm not cleaning someone's shit. And he goes, it wasn't like it was an accident. Like, they shit on the floor. And he's like, nope, I don't.
Someone's got to clean it.
I'm retired. Like, I'm pushing carts. I'm okay with that. But you're not going to ask me to go do that. Yeah. I can fully see my dad considering some of the stuff that he's told me, in the past. He works for Enterprise Rent a Car. He just ports cars, and him and his wife take big long trips. And he goes, they took like a 6-week trip, 6 or 8 week trip, just driving the country a few years ago. And he told his boss, hey, I'm going to be taking this 6 weeks off or whatever it was. And she's like, well, you can put the time in, but I'm not sure if they're going to grant it. And he's like, that's fine, but I won't be here for these 6 weeks. And they're like, well, you understand that you might not have a job. And he's like, okay, I'm going to tell you again, I'm taking the 6 weeks off. I don't have a job. And they're like, well, I can't. And he goes, let me tell you something. You see all those people out there? That guy's retired from GM. That guy's retired from the post office. I'm retired from Chrysler. We just don't want to be at the house. So good luck. Like, we don't need this job. We have pensions. So as your first your first job, get out of that. Like,
yeah. I knew right away that wasn't for me.
You made us stand there like, you know what? I'm not cleaning that shit up.
Yeah.
So when did you get back into collecting toys?
So in my early 20s, when I was working at the nursing home the first time, I would pick up toys here and there, and I still have like a bunch of toys from that era in bins and some that I've cleaned up and stuff. But then I stopped again. I don't remember why. I just kind of stopped doing it. And it was probably during a move, like when I packed it all up, and then since I didn't have it unpacked. But then recently it was Origins, seeing He-Man and Skeletor back on the pegs. That was like, I would look at them and I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I would leave the store and be like, I should have got those. And I do that like 3 or 4 times before I was like, okay, I'm just going to get He-Man and Skeletor. And now I'm like crazy. Like, I've gone literally insane with toys.
I said that with me, with Master of the Universe, I was collecting G.I. Joe Classified and G.I. Joe, and I would walk by and I would tell Olivia, my daughter, if I ever see He-Man, Skeletor, Battle Cat, and Panther all together, I'll buy it. Because there was no new G.I. Joe stuff, but never stuff. And then finally I saw it. And the reason why I kept saying that is because I knew once I bought one, just like you, I was going down that road, especially considering I was looking for G.I. Joe. I said before, I walked by Man-at-Arms, that whole wave, numerous times. Like, all those early waves that no one... I walked by those numerous times. And I knew they were hard to get, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not trying to resell anything. Kind of kicked myself because I realized how much they went for a while.
Yeah.
And then I finally bought them. And I told Olivia, and she was like... And then she just watched it all roll. And she just watched it all roll in. And now Mr. Motu was able to get him at a pretty good deal. I sold almost everything to him. So you said it was like you were collecting stuff there, but Motu was what kind of brought you back into it, which would have been at the early stages of COVID, correct?
Yeah, it was during COVID, but I was essential worker, so I was still like working every day and like going out and stuff. Yeah, I mean, not really. That came a little bit later. So I was collecting in my 20s, and I was collecting like the 2000X
Okay.
He-Man. So like that kind of got me back in during that cycle too.
So was it always a He-Man that kind of brought you back in?
Well, like I said, the last time I think it was Transformers that brought me back, but shortly after that, the 2000X He-Man stuff, and I still have like a bunch of that stuff too.
All right, so you kind of come back. You said you've been in and out. Here come Origins. They're $15 at the time.
Yeah,
Deluxes are deluxe, which there weren't many. Were 20. Battle Cat was only 20, I think. Right? Battle Cat and.
I was like, I'm just going to get He-Man and Skeletor. I didn't think I'd get back into toys. But I opened them up. They were on my desk for a while. I'm like, these are pretty cool. So, like, when I started seeing the other stuff, I was like, oh, pick that up. And then it just kind of...
So how do you end up with 5K toys? Like, how do you progress from that to a much higher end, more expensive type figure?
I think it was just because I was having so much fun with toys that like at first it's like, oh, like that's too expensive. But then after a while, when it's like, well, this is really my only vice and hobby right now. So I can spend
How do you find out about this stuff? Like what? How did you find out about BBTS, Entertainment Earth?
well, BBTS I found out about because I was like getting super frustrated with trying to find the toys on the pegs. So I was like, oh, well, I'll look online. And that's when I found BBTS.
Because I can remember when like I found Hasbro Pulse, and I remember people talking about BBTS and Entertainment Earth, but BBTS more than anything. And I just remember asking, are they reliable? Because I had no idea who they were. Big Bad Toy Store. I'm sorry, if someone just says, yeah, there's a place called Big Bad Toy Store, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to give them my money, right? And then when people are like, no, they're totally legit, and you're like, okay, I'll order a couple figures. And, I probably didn't go over $50 because you're like, I don't want to give them too much money. And then you realize, like, oh, this place is pretty legit. And then you start looking at, like, their catalog of figures, and you're like, kind of what, like, where Hella Dope Toys talked about how their janky site and it looks like they're going to rip you off. Like, BBTS, like, from when I started collecting, their site never looked like that.
It's always been pretty polished since I've been.
And I didn't know what the pile of loot. I knew what I thought everything went to pile of loot. I remember the first time they shipped something, and I was like, why didn't you go to the pile of loot? And someone was like, you have to tell it you want everything to go to pile of loot. And I was like, okay. And they didn't charge you the $4 shipping either. They just, because I didn't hit that. So I was like, well, this isn't cheaper. This isn't cheaper, not by far. Clint Jorgensen says they need to do a documentary on BBTS. How did they get so big?
I was looking through like an old toy fair, and they were around, and I didn't realize they've been around for as long as they have been.
Brick says BBTS hooked me up 20 years ago with a dope Jackie Chan Drunken Master 1/6.
Yeah, see, they've been around for a long time.
And 3-star says, I did not realize once it hits the pile of loot, you lost money. That was another thing. Yeah, the pile of loot, if you don't know, you don't realize, like, okay, they charge you for the figure right away, but they don't charge you tax.
Yeah.
So that all gets charged at the back end. So if you let too much build up, your taxes might be $20-$30 where you think you're only going to be spending the $4 to ship it out. So next thing you know, you're spending $34 and you're like, and then oh, fuck, okay, I get it now.
And I let it pile up quite a bit too. So it's usually a pretty good chunk of taxes.
And if you're not doing what I do, where you're trying to get reviews done and get them out, it makes sense. Like, there's no reason to have it. Let it build. I know Matthew does it all. He lets it just kind of build up, and then it's like Christmas, because when you do ship it, a lot of times you'll have stuff that's been sitting there for 2 months.
Yeah.
And the fact that they'll ship everything for $4, no matter how much it is. Now, don't get me. I feel like when you do the pile of loot, the $4, if it is a big box, it usually goes out FedEx. If it's a small box, it goes out DHL, and good luck, because it might still be in Stowe, Ohio.
Usually I do a big box, so it's usually FedEx, but
yeah. So yeah, I it's such a good idea, and no one else seems to be able to. No one else wants to pay the money. And Entertainment Earth is really the only one that should be doing it. They're really the only.
But they have, if you spend a certain amount, they'll give you free shipping anyway. So
yeah. And now their standard shipping, I think is $8.
Yeah,
like everything is $8. So no matter how much you buy, it's $8. But yeah, it's 3-star says BBTS probably delivers Woody shit on a flatbed. Well, with all the army builders he buys, yeah, 30 fucking Cobra Troopers and fuck, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah, Matthew says, I've got a pretty big pile of loot. All right, so back to what I was talking about, though. So here you are, Motu. You're just getting a He-Man and Skeletor. By the looks of it, you gave up on that.
Yeah.
And you got everything dark, so I can barely see it, but I've seen the figures you've collected.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my Instagram, it's like a different toy every day almost. So
Yeah. And it doesn't take very long. It really doesn't. I mean, you figure I had no 6-inch figures, and I counted 375 6-inch figures, and those were the ones that I could see. I know I have other ones, the ones downstairs that are kind of in a box. So yeah, it takes on a life of its own. And you're right, when it's really your only vice that you're doing, when you're when you're not in a relationship, so you don't have to justify, you're not going out to taking your girlfriend or boyfriend out to dinner or whatever, you have a little bit of extra money that other people don't have. Other people do. I mean, again, if you have a great job and you can afford it, awesome. More power to you. So what made you start veering off? Like, what was like the first toys that you can remember that you got into other than the Motu stuff that you went?
I'm trying to think. Mostly it was like extra fantasy stuff, something that would go with Motu. Like just a figure here or a figure there. And then I really got into those Warcraft toys once I started seeing those, but I had already been collecting other stuff. I'm trying to think of what it actually was that made me jump from Motu to other stuff. It was probably Thundercats, honestly. It was like, oh, I can put the Thundercats with my He-Man stuff. Like, they'll go together.
And then you got them, and you were like, why is this one $55 with the same amount of I'm sorry.
I get like that, but I actually think they look good. They don't have the best articulation, but I have fun with them. I like them. I enjoy those toys.
What Super 7 shows you that that you think you're gonna buy almost always looks really good. The problem is it's not always what they ship you.
Like I said, I haven't had any issues with the Thundercats, but then again, I only have like the main cast. Like I don't have like all those side characters and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
No,
that was probably what got me into like spending a little bit more on toys, and then just starting to see other stuff. And
yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of people in the G.I. Joe community, and I say this all the time. Like they're G.I. Joe collectors, not toy collectors. Like they're bitching that a Super 7 G.I. Joe is $55 and it's overpriced, and they're bitching because they're looking at classified as $25. They don't realize that all Super 7s are $55. It has nothing to do with that, they just, this company makes these G.I. Joes for $55. No. All their Ultimates are $55, other than the deluxes. Yeah, other than the deluxes or the glow in the dark or whatever whatever they're doing. Clint Jorgensen says, Super 7 Thundercats should get a commercial break on Punk's channel. Well, I no longer have them because I sold them all. Because if you watch my Tiger review, you'll see how mad I got.
I need to go find that because I don't have any issues with that guy.
I think that was probably the first video where you could physically see me getting mad.
I should go look that up.
And I've had people come back and go, wow, you were pretty angry. And there have been some other videos throughout like when I went back and watched the Savage Crucible one, I realized that guy, the owner, when he said, we don't, other than people that throw their figures. And I was like, I really did watch it. But I'm like, I didn't throw it. I tossed it. And we all watched it. But when I watched it back, I went, ooh, I was really angry. I was extremely angry. Tiger really set me off. There was something about it. I have to go back and watch it because maybe I wasn't as angry considering you guys have seen me extremely angry at times. So maybe it's not as bad as I think back to it. Like you said, yeah, I can be angry at times. And I think we've all seen it.
I can too.
That's why when people will ask, or they'll ask someone around about, and they'll be like, hey, is Punk mad at me? Or I think he's mad at me. And I'm like, have you? I think I've shown people when I'm mad. Like, I don't really beat around the bush. I'm gonna let you know that. Okay, I'm a little pissed off. Let's cut it out or whatever. you just. I mean, I can't see anyone being mad at you.
Oh, trust me.
Well, I mean, at least from the community that.
Yeah, I don't get too much from people, but I also like I'm pretty bad at like engagement in general. Like I hang out on Oz's, but a lot of times I'm just kind of like playing with the toy, or like I'm quiet most of the time, just kind of sitting there until I have something to say.
You also seem like the person when someone is mad at you that you don't let them see you get you don't let them see you get mad, which probably infuriates them even more. Where you could just be like, and then
yeah, I definitely do that, but I mean I can get pretty damn mad.
I think we all can, but I could see you as the type that when someone doesn't show emotion when someone's mad at you, it will sometimes infuriate people even more. I think we've all done it at times. My son is amazing at it. He should do a fucking master class on it.
But like, I'll get mad, but it's like fleeting. Like, I don't like hold a grudge against anybody, or like, I will get to a certain point, like, something happens, and I'm just kind of like, I'm done with that person. Like, I'm not gonna be mean to them, but I'm not gonna like interact with them. It's just like, okay. And there's a couple people in the community like that, like that have even reached out to me afterwards. And I just don't respond because like I don't have time for this. So
no, yeah, I think that's the best, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, this may come as a shock because there's a lot of people that I don't like in the community, but I don't go watch their content. I don't, comment on their stuff. I don't attack, go out and attack them, to their friends and stuff. I just, and people know who it is, and I have no problem talking about certain people, in general. But I know there's a lot of people that they don't like someone and they still watch. I'm like, why do you watch their stuff?
to see what he said, to get pissed off about it, to tell someone, can you believe this motherfucker said that?
Yeah, I just I don't have. I have way too much stuff going on in the YouTube world of everything that I do as it is, that I'm not spending the time watching someone's content that I don't like. If someone says, hey, you know what? He was talking about this, and maybe it's something that I could learn from. Hey, you know what? I'll go watch it. Because you can watch someone that you don't like if, and again, Bobby Val is the perfect, when he talks about product and how it's built, I find it very fascinating because it's stuff that I don't know about. So if someone's like, yeah, he was talking about that, like, okay, I'll go watch it. Other than that one, like people are like, hey, did you hear what they were saying? Nope, because I don't watch their stuff. And if you do, that's great. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to lose any respect for you, or, But it's just like, all right. But sometimes I'll hear like, hey, someone was talking about, not talking about you, but just like they were talking about this, and you want to hear what. So you go watch a little bit of it. But I'm with you. Like, someone you don't like in the community, you're just like, all right. Most people don't reach out to me though.
Yeah.
Most people won't reach out to me and be like, hey, do you have a problem with me? It's like,
for me, it was like, I don't need to respond. It's like, something happened. You want to like try to mend fences, but I never really knew you anyway. So
yeah, that's another thing. Well, sometimes someone like reaches out to you, and I've had people do this. They'll reach out to me, and then I don't respond. And then you'll hear from some people and like, yeah, they said they reached out to you and you didn't respond. And I was like, was I supposed to? I they said something. I didn't really have a retort to it. Was I supposed to reach? Was I supposed? I don't. I'm like, yeah, I didn't. I wasn't a negative or a positive. I just like, okay, they said what they needed to say. I didn't really have anything to say back to it. So, all right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't feel I need to placate you because your feelings are hurt or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, all right. I mean, I guess sorry you feel that way, but all right, I'm going to continue to do my thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, All right, so let's get into your content. And because Johnny Reno had asked, Thanos, what made you start the content you do on your Instagram? I want to hear this backstory.
Everybody can thank Oz because I had posted like a few things on Reddit, and Oz found me posting on Reddit and knew me from the chats and told me to start an Instagram.
So this
So
guy
I'm like,
right here.
yeah, that dude right there. It's all his fault. But I was like, if I'm going to do an Instagram, I want to do pictures every day. I don't want to like, here's a couple things and then it doesn't do anything. I wanted to actually, take photos every day. And, and that really like changed my whole collecting habits too. Cause I probably would have just stayed masters, had the stuff on the shelves, built a couple dios and been good. I actually want to show one thing. So this is one of the first things I took a picture of and showed off. And it's I built Hell Skull
Hold on.
for the anti Eternia.
Oh, wow.
So and I had posted a picture of this on Reddit, and then a couple other dios and stuff that I had made. And
What's that made out of?
These are rocks, a lot of glue holding it together, paper mache, cardboard, foam, balloons, some clay. And then the face is one of those Barbie like Comet, the heads.
Oh, all right. That looks amazing.
So like I was posting just kind of like how I was making my shelves look on Reddit in the Masters thing, and Oz told me to post on Instagram. So I started posting, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it every day. And just kind of like at first it was just literally pictures of my shelves, and then it was like, okay. Like I started finding groups that were doing like, we're doing this theme, do this kind of picture and collab with us. And Toy Mercs was like one of the ones that I started with a lot. And I would like, okay, here's an idea. I'll take the theme and I'll run with it. And at some point, the Wednesdays started because I bought the Fiken Seamless dolls. And I just posted a picture of Adam and Tila.
Explain to everyone what those are, because I don't even know exactly what those things are.
These
are the new bodies, right?
It's a metal skeleton with a silicone seamless body. Okay. And then but the head peg fits Origins. Like the female Origins just pop right on almost perfectly.
Oh, we know.
Yeah. So so I did, He-Man and Naked Tila, and it got like way more likes than the rest of my stuff. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do that again. And pretty much right after that, I was like, well, every Wednesday's a hump day. And then pretty soon after that, I was like, every Friday's a Fisto Friday. But I got so sick of Fisto. Like, I was just like, I can't do this every week anymore.
But I gotta, because I don't know if you remember when I was at PowerCon, and I was sitting there with Mr. Wonderful Travis. The guy across from me had a Fisto shirt on, and I took a picture. I think it's the first time I've ever messaged you, and I messaged you like, I'm looking at this, and that's all I could think of is that you in the pictures that you do, and this poor guy is just wearing a Fisto fucking shirt, not realizing that I'm like, man, that Fisto is going to do some really dirty stuff to someone soon.
Yeah. I'll probably do some more Fisto Fridays, like every once in a while, but trying to do it every Friday was like, I was running out of ideas and it was just like not fun anymore. So,
oh, I can fully understand that. But have you seen the new Fisto? Because he has like the different attachment. I was like, oh boy.
I got him on pre-order. I mean, come on. I'm trying to save money and I still put him on pre-order.
So I have this. So like for me, like, I was collecting G.I. Joe, and then I got, Masters, and then I got into, the Valaverse line because they complimented G.I. Joe. And then I pick up other little things. But when it comes to photography, I'm not a good photographer.
You do pretty good.
Thank you. It's all due to the iPhone. Like sometimes I just figure out a good spot and the iPhone does all the work. But thank you very much. I would never have crossed over like different creatures and stuff. But there is something about when you're doing photography that you can take a G.I. Joe and have him going up against a Savage Crucible. Or I take Ash and I have him going, the gargoyle has, that angry face, and I have the shotgun from Ash. And all of a sudden it's like, you can now I can cross these different lines and they work. They work together. Mythic Legions, you can have them fighting G.I. Joe. I'm not going to have them in an actual battle scene, but you do like a certain photography shot, and you're like, this actually works. And it allows you to say, well, I guess I can pick up a couple of these figures.
Yeah.
And put them with my, my regular figures and do some pictures. I don't have to display it all the time. The fact that it took me that long to buy a Predator, and then I go out there and I'm like, oh my God, like all these G.I. Joe figures, it is so fucking perfect to go with a Predator.
I just watched the new Alien movie. I'm like, damn, I kind of want some Alien figures now.
I don't have any Aliens, but see, that's like another thing. It's like, it can.
They would go good with your Joes.
Yeah, that's just it. Like almost any of these, like the Savage Crucible, like it works. Like I can have them fighting it. The gargoyles, they don't have to be, the gargoyles don't have to be good guys, especially with their angry faces.
Yeah.
You can have them fighting anyone. Especially considering, even though it's fantasy, they're more of a proper proportion size. Origins are not a proper proportion size.
No. Origins kind of just play with Origins.
Yeah, but I mean, like once you do that, now you're taking that like comedy aspect, going with it, just like the Plunderlings. Like once you put a Plunderling in there, you've taken all like seriousness out of it.
Yeah, I love those Plunderlings. I have so much fun with those.
Dre asked me, Punk, I have a question for you. When you were a child, did you cross lines with various figures you played with? No. We actually, I feel like we've actually talked about this a good amount recently with the guests. I couldn't even cross like G.I. Joe and G.I. Joe and Star Wars, even though they're the same size. I think when it goes back to Star Wars is the one thing I feel like you had to play it just like the movie. It was hard to, at least for me, hard to veer off from it. But having the aircraft carrier, I don't know if you guys know, I have my childhood USS flag. I don't know if you ever heard the story, but I had one as a child, and I still have that exact same one. But I had the snow speeder, and I put the snow speeder on it. It just doesn't go on it. And if someone brought over the X-Wing, it doesn't go on it. It was too military, and Star Wars was too Star Wars.
I think that is one of the fun things about toys, though, is being able to like mash up stuff you'll never see together.
When I hear, when I talk to a guest that they talk about how I didn't have a problem having my G.I. Joes go up against my Masters of the Universe or against my Transformers, which were way out of scale, or, well, I don't think anyone's ever said I had I crossed my Transformers over with my GoBots. That just didn't happen. All right.
It totally did, because I had GoBots and Transformers. And I would take my GoBots and Transformers over to my cousin's house, and they would fight his G.I. Joes. Like
maybe there was something seriously wrong with you. Ed says, wait, you still have your childhood flag? Tell us more. Maybe I'll do a stream all alone one day on it, and I'll tell you guys all about it.
I scrolled back, and my first non-Motu figures that I picked up were Rick and Morty. I just thought it would be funny to have them run around the shelves.
Now, who makes those?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, I know who Rick and Morty are. I've never watched an episode, so I know nothing about them. But the Elf figure, absolutely awesome. Elf. A-L-F, not
I got
Elf.
you. I knew what you meant.
I know, but people always ask. Like that. Like once you put Elf in something, you've kind of taken all reality out of it. Now you've gone in, because I have him sitting up there with a shotgun. A Valiver shotgun. It fits in him perfect. He can aim it. He can pose it. It's absolutely perfect. Now, do you have any other figures other than fantasy stuff?
Yeah, I have a couple of Cosmic Legions. I do have a few Joes. I've got like a Snake Eyes. I've got a Duke. I've got a couple different Cobra Commanders.
Like
I have
6-inch ones or the?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a few of the 3 3/4 too. Actually, the first couple Transformers versus GI Joe, I bought those. I'm like, you put these together, it's brilliant. There's just the execution wasn't very good.
I think they look good as a robot, but the transforming is awful.
I thought the vehicles were actually more fun than the robots. But the plastic was cheap, and the little GI Joe figures didn't look very good, and just felt a little cheap. Like,
and a lot of the issues that I probably had was I have those vehicles. Like I still have my vintage vehicles, so I don't need to have a Hiss tank. I already have a couple of them. I didn't need an All Striker. I got multiple All Strikers, but having Bumblebee transformed, I'm with you on the figures. I just felt like the figures felt like they were knockoff figures.
Yeah. I heard the last two releases, like the Soundwave and the Sergeant Slaughter and Cup, were better. But I got out after the first two.
That Soundwave supposedly is showing up at Ross for $25.
Well, shit, I'll be hitting up some Ross.
Dude, I know. I've already asked Tony. I'm like, if you find one, let me know. I told my buddy. I said, if you go to the Ross here and you find one, let me know. I'm going to be hitting there. My Ross doesn't have shit. We just got a Ross, so I don't know. But
me too. We got it like a few weeks ago. Well, maybe about a month ago.
Okay, yeah. I think this one opened maybe two, maybe 3 months ago. There's one downriver, but that's like an hour away. That's the only one I would stop at when I was over there for work. This one is right next to the Toys R Us that I used to go to. So
yeah, the next town over, they have a ton of Rosses, but it's like a 40-minute drive to the closest one. So,
but yeah, that's one of those things where you're just like, I saw that. I want to say it was Surveillance Port, and they don't post like the cropped in one, so it looks like it's legit. It shows $25 or $24.99. I'm like,
I will keep an eye out
because I bought the first two. And then they kept going on sale. So when the Soundwave came out, I was like, I'm not buying this because it's going to go on sale. It's never gone on sale.
I know, because I've looked a few times too.
And I'm like, God damn it. Like, I really want this one too because Ravage is awesome. And then you get the two Dreadnoughts. Now I have the Dreadnoughts. I also have the Thunder Machine. Actually, all my childhood stuff. But the Soundwave looks awesome, and Ravage is always just fucking cool, right?
I mean, it's a brilliant idea. Like, the fact that they don't have like just a line that's steadily putting those out doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it's on the Transformer side. If you go to Hasbro Pulse, you'll always find it on the Transformer side, not on the G.I. Joe side. So I have a feeling that's why we still see O-rings, because it's coming out on the Transformer side of things, not the G.I. Joe side. So, but yeah, I am, like I said, I'm going to be hitting the Rosses now. Well, the few Rosses that I have, but there's one close to my house, and I'm like, $25, it's fucking mine. I mean, I would have bought it if it was $60, you know, but I've been waiting to either had like, you know, either found one or maybe I had a little bit of extra cash for Sergeant Reds because he's had it sitting there, but $25 for that thing. It's just a damn good price.
Yeah.
Let's see here. 3-star says, as much as I love the Thunder Machine, the Triple T is the best looking one, I think. For $25, I'll buy any of them. Yeah, well, and again, we were told that they're cutting down production on certain things. So there wouldn't be as much stuff at Ross and Ollie's, but I'll tell you what, my Ollie's right now is absolutely packed with Marvel Legends and Star Wars stuff.
I envy you guys and your Ollie's, man. Just like, I'd have to drive like 4 or 5 states over to find an Ollie's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I have all kinds of Ollie's. Muda66 says, what is your favorite Joe figure this year, Punk? He says underneath there. I've had no luck at Ross. Man, I don't even remember what came out this year. Snake Eyes did not. The retro Snake Eyes didn't. I don't even know. I mean, I do these reviews and then you forget about it. To be honest, the best figure that may have come out, just think it might have been the retro Duke. And I'm not even a Duke fan. It's just such a good figure, solid weapons and everything. There's just been so many. And as for Ross, I've had no luck at Ross whatsoever. I picked up. I found Lando Calrissian in Skiff Guard. And I said, hey, it was always been one of my favorite Star Wars figures. But I'm like, I'm not paying $25 for it. When I saw it for $10 at Ollie's, I'm like, I'm still not paying $10. When I found it for $6 at Ross, I was like, you know what? Now I'll buy it.
Yeah.
It's funny where we like put our foot down. A Mezco, $125 for a G.I. Joe Duke, bought them. Ooh, $10 for a Black Series. Ugh, I'm not so sure, even though it's one of my favorite characters from the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that.
We have some major issues when it comes to that shit. Like, that's what makes me laugh when like people are like, I'm not spending $34 on a deluxe G.I. Joe figure. I'm like, yeah, I just spent $125 on a Mezco figure.
Well, it's like that Zod you were showing off the other day. It's like $130. It's like, done. I'm 100% in.
Yeah, like, and again, if you like it, don't let someone else make fun of you. Because I'll make fun of people. I've talked about this before. I would talk about when someone says they like soccer, I tell people soccer sucks. And they'd go, what if I said skateboarding sucks? That's great. You said it. I don't care. Like, it doesn't change my love for it. Just like me saying soccer sucks shouldn't change your love for soccer because I said it. I just like I like getting the kickback. I like someone pushing back. So when I say an action figure sucks and you shouldn't buy it, I don't even say you shouldn't buy it. I don't understand why some people buy it. Super 7. Not that I'm saying I'll never buy a Super 7 again, because there's like a chance that I would. It just doesn't mean that I have to like it. Quickly, Muda66 says, also, I have another question, Punk. I have a Mezco Destro, but one of my arm plates doesn't have the rockets on it. Well, one of the arm plates is just blank, and then the other one has the rockets on it. Or it has rockets on it.
Did you yeah, you saw the street scene thing that I sent you the other day.
Oh yeah, I meant to talk to you before we started on that. Did you ever get it figured out?
They assembled it wrong. So the pegs are misaligned. So like you can't put the support bracket in. You would have to do it crooked, but it doesn't fit.
Yes.
They refunded it, and I have a street scene with shitty support on the top roof. But
okay. They didn't assemble it wrong. It's made wrong. You have to modify it yourself.
Really?
That's what I wanted to talk to you about, and I totally forgot. I don't remember what I did, and I have to take everything off. This piece here, the way that it sets, you have to like break the piece off, but it won't cause any structural damage to it. But I'd have to look at it and see. They refunded you $110 or?
Yeah, 114 or whatever it was.
And did it make you send it back?
No, they're like, just keep it.
Dude, okay. Was it the top one or was it this one?
It was the top one.
Yeah.
The third for the roof.
So there's something like you have to look at how they go. Because putting the back piece on is a pain in the ass. It does not line up. Everyone has said the exact same thing. So,
it wasn't that piece though. It was the support beams.
No. I'm saying for me to take that off, it's a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
No, you're right. The support beams, there's an issue because it doesn't set on it properly. You have to break off specific ones, but it will not cause any structural damage. So I'll look at it this weekend, and then I'll get back with you. I meant to do it. I was very frustrated. So I knew exactly what you were talking about, but I haven't disassembled mine since I put it together. So I couldn't remember exactly what it was. And then I know I messaged you back and was like, wait till I get home. And then again, I totally forgot.
Yeah, it should
The
happen.
fact that they refunded you means that you got that thing for free. So
Pretty sweet.
you made out because it's not that it was assembled wrong. They completely fucked everything up. Matthew says, I never had a problem with mine. You are just special. Yeah, no. Muda66 says, I have looked at reviews and everyone else's looks like the little red rockets are molded on. Mine doesn't have them. If you have Instagram, just message me and I'll tell you.
He'll get back to you and then not get back to you.
I got back to you. I just didn't get back to you about getting back to you.
Yeah.
My desk was much easier to get to than
Yeah.
all of this.
No, I mean, I knew. Like, I was just like, does this look right? Basically.
I'm gonna make excuses. It's not just that I have to get all the figures off it. Then I have to get all the figures off in front of it, and then that back piece. And I think everyone will tell you the exact same thing. That back piece is a pain in the fucking ass. Because as awesome as it looks, you see how like there's like the city and everything? The city goes down to like right here. It's not lined up at all. It makes no sense whatsoever. But I remember being extremely frustrated when I did mine too, and somebody else told me the exact same thing. So I remember having had to break certain things off there. But yeah, I'll look at it this weekend. I'm gonna have to redo some shit anyway.
Well, I stopped putting it together, and it's pretty much all together. It just doesn't have the support beams or the back piece. And I was just like, okay, I'll put this away until I hear back. Because I figured they'd have me ship it back to them because it's pretty pricey. But they were just like, no, it was store credit, but here's your refund.
Hold on, wait a minute. So SCS Dog is saying, I think the problem with the NECA Cityscape is there were apparently two different production runs, one without the fucked up roof and one with. So yeah, you have the fucked up roof, like I do. But again, I remember I broke something off, and again, I popped it off, and it didn't.
The little clear plastic parts, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably still around here somewhere in corners that I didn't get to clean up. No, Matthew. Again, it does if you haven't put it together correctly. No, they line up. It's just they're just a pain in the ass. As great as that thing is, there were definitely some things. But it's good to hear what SCS Dog says. He obviously had heard that there was some sort of. Because as soon as you messaged me, I went, I know what you're talking about, but I couldn't remember.
I looked it up. There was other people talking about having the same issue. So
yeah.
I was like, okay.
But all I did was I broke something off because I got to look at it to remember. I remember doing something and I don't remember exactly how I did it. But yeah, that thing is still worth it though. I mean, once you get it together, especially with all the figures that you have and everything. Well, you have all the fantasy figures.
I have a lot of superheroes and like the Street Fighter guys.
Oh, that's right.
So I mean, I'll get some use out of it for sure. Because I don't do as many like of the superhero shots because like I can only do them like in front of the screen. But now that I have like a city dial, it's like okay.
Yeah, it's really good until you start piling figures on it, and then you're like, if I want to take a picture on it, I got to remove every single.
I don't have a display anymore. I have piles of toys, and then I have like these shoe hangers full of toys. So it's like my display is like a Dio piece,
That is my biggest fear with how I'm collecting. That I don't want it to be like that. Like now that I'm doing more pictures and I go out, of course it's going to become winter, so I'm not going to be doing anything outside. Well, not too often. the more and more we get piled up. And here, like back here, I put the Street Fighter stuff. Anyone that sends me customs or anything that I did, I like keeping them here rather than in my display downstairs because there's something special that someone did for me or something that I did. But they've all started to add up, and you can see the pile here is. You guys can't even see it all that well, but
I have a shelf that is literally just like I'm done taking a picture of that, and then I put it on the shelf is just like stacked with laying down toys.
I'm starting to get that too, where I'm like that shelf there is supposed to be something for G.I. Joe, and it's like that's where I put the pile of ones where I'm like, well, I replaced that spot. I'm gonna put it over here. I'll get to that shelf later on, and then it just piles up like he's.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, dude, it's fucking. And how did we get here? Because you said again, like here you are, what? COVID, you really started collecting. Now I collected like my old O-ring stuff. I wasn't collecting a lot more. I collected in the past a lot of Spawn stuff, Star Wars, but I was just collecting the O-ring stuff. And then next thing you know, COVID starts, and now I'm looking at 1,000 figures, and you're going, oh, wait. There's something wrong with this. Right?
I need to stop at some point because, like, honestly, like when that Cat's Lair comes in, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Like,
you haven't even thought about where you're putting that thing.
I have an idea where I'm gonna put it, but I need to move some stuff.
So you live with a roommate, correct?
Yeah, I do.
Is the roommate a female or a male?
Male.
Do they care?
He will buy me toys if he sees something like that is like cool. Like he'll just be like, "Hey, I thought you would like this," and take a picture of it. So
if it's stuff in the living room, does it bother him?
No. I mean, like I have a lot of stuff out in the living room. I have an Eternia in the living room, but our living room is huge. Like, and the Eternia is like on the back wall, and it's not like in the way of anything. We still have like couches and chairs and a TV and like all that stuff. But
I have an Eternia in the living room.
Yeah, I have 2 Eternias in the living room actually because I have the vintage Eternia and then I have the new Eternia.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow. And you haven't seen the Cat's Lair in person, right?
I have not, but it's going to be big. I know that.
And now, see, I know. Again, I know I've talked about it numerous times when Ed and I saw the Cat's Lair, like just how big it was. Right? I mean, the thing is fucking large. To me, it's kind of like the flag. I don't want it ever pushed up against the wall if I can.
Well, no, I wanted it because I wanted to be able to take interior shots of it too. Like I'll probably use the inside of it more than I'll use the outside of it.
I like army building Eternias.
I have the vintage. I had the vintage one as a kid. Actually, I don't have all the pieces and stuff.
So that's your childhood one?
Parts of it are my childhood one.
The
cat face is a replacement. Like a few parts.
You're supposed to turn that into a story when you have something like that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't think there were there any figures to army build for He-Man?
They had Horde Troopers in the vintage line.
Oh, okay. Were there Horde Troopers in Eternia?
Etheria, I guess. Like, I guess they. No, I don't know.
Yeah, you got to turn that into a story. That's how it's supposed to be. Story. Turn everything into a story. Not that I've ever done anything like that. Yeah, see, 3-star says childhood Eternia and 7 He-Man. 8. It should be 8, but you already had one.
Well, how many different He-Man were there? There was the regular, there was the battle armor, there was the Thunder Punch, there's the Flying Fist. Forgetting any?
Oh, you're forgetting all of that. He-Man, battle armor.
Yeah.
Thunder Punch.
Flying Fist. I can't think of any other versions. Laser Light.
Which one is that?
It was like the last one they did. We had the blue armor and like the green light up sword.
Here. Look at this.
See, Allison knows.
Yeah.
Prince
Regular
Adam.
battle armor, thunder punch, flying fist, laser light, Prince Adam.
Okay.
And then you have fake ore. If you want to put fake ore in there. I feel like there's so many more now. Because, well, I guess because they did what?
Well, you have the movie version, you have the CGI version, you have the new Eternia versions, and then, there's a ton of He-Man now.
Yeah, so maybe there seems like there's more now than before. But it still seems like, I guess, they made so many more because then they had the one on like that, the Target exclusive, anti-Eternia He-Man, he's Skeletor. So I guess there's a lot more now. Oh, Wondar.
Wondar. Yeah, that would have been the other vintage one.
So I guess, man, why does it seem like there's so many more?
I don't know.
What's your favorite He-Man?
My favorite?
Yeah.
Thunder Punch.
That's the one with the caps, right?
Yeah.
I'm with
just
you,
because I loved that thing as a kid, and I would just like pop caps and the smell and like.
I didn't have it, but I had friends that had it, and I'm with you. I was like so disappointed, even though I knew it didn't come with one when I ordered the one from Mattel Creations. I was so disappointed. I'm like, this is ordered from Mattel Creations. Why couldn't you give us caps? Let us figure out how we're gonna find caps.
That one wasn't a Mattel creation, was it? I didn't think it was an exclusive.
No, it was. The one with the stupid little. Good Lord, buddy. The one with the flying fists. That one was not.
Yeah, I didn't think Thunder Punch was. I know like it was harder to find, but I could have sworn I got it from like BBTS or one of those.
Clint, then Michelangelo. All right, am I not the only one that realized that is Donald Trump?
I didn't think about it, but yeah, I can kind of see it with the hair.
I was looking at it the other day, and I'm like, that is fucking Donald Trump. That is Donald Trump Turtle. That is the comb over that he has. Jay Solo says Thanos used to pop caps
all the time.
Yeah, I love that one. I mean, I know that the new one, when he spun around, he kind of stopped, so it kind of made a popping noise. It just wasn't.
Yeah, it had the old punch action and made a snap, but
yeah, it was very disappointing that they couldn't put some sort of caps in there. Let us figure out how we're gonna get the caps. Give us like a pack of 10 caps and be like, yeah, you know what, you're on your own after this.
Pretty sure you can still buy caps.
Yeah, you still can. They're just, they're all at the dollar store. They're at that one corner drugstore that sells everything. And the caps are probably from the 80s, but who knows? I hate that. And I always loved Battle Armor He-Man. Even though that the barrel would normally break by the time it was done playing with it.
Battle Armor's my favorite Skeletor.
Yeah, did Skeletor, other than Battle Armor Skeletor, did he have any cool versions?
Dragon Blaster.
See,
he had the Terror Claws, but it had that weird, like, I don't know.
See, I don't remember either of those Skeletors as a kid. I only remember Skeletor and Battle Armor Skeletor. I don't remember, and I have the dragon one right over here that I'm eventually going to send out to Digital Diarrhea. I keep forgetting to. And I think the Terror Claw one actually is sitting downstairs in my change jar. I'm filling it up, and when he finally goes over his head, then I know it's time to go turn in the money. He kind of fell over. I don't put a lot of change in it because I buy everything with credit or use my debit card or whatever. I don't remember Skeletor. He-Man seemed to have cooler ones, but I always love Thunder Punch He-Man. I love the commercial. Absolutely love the commercial. Um, it's such a cheesy ass commercial. Matthew says, I had 3 Skeletor, the Dragon Squirting one, Battle Armor, and OG. What was your favorite Motu as a kid?
Oh, I don't really know. Probably Skeletor.
Really?
Yeah.
I always loved Cobra Khan. Always. And I don't even know why I got rid of him.
I like Too Bad quite a bit too, actually. I played with him a lot. The punching each other in the face.
remember Too Bad. I know I didn't have him. Kenny. He had all the Motu stuff. He probably had him. I didn't like that figure. He kind of creeped me out.
Maybe that's what I liked about it.
I also like Buzz Off, and I look at Buzz Off now, and I'm like, he's awful. He's so bad.
I always liked Evil Lynn too. Evil Lynn's always been like one of my favorites.
I never had her. I never had any of the females actually. Tila, Evil Lynn. I never had the females. I think that was the only. Oh no, they made the sorceress, right?
Yeah, later in the line.
Yeah. I always liked Stratos. He made sense. He flew. He-Man was He-Man. Man-at-Arms was always cool because he had a mace and some armor on him. But yeah. So let me ask you, I know you've done at least one review video for oh look, Allison is here. For Slave Leia. I don't care what you want to call it, Allison. It is Slave Leia.
Hut Slayer. I don't even remember what I called her in the video. Did I call her Slave Leia?
I don't know, but that's what I always call her. Other than when we do another May the Power of the Force, do you think you'll ever do any types of reviews or anything?
I actually want to do a video right now where I show off all the orcs that I have.
Okay.
Because I want to compare, because I have like the vintage official Warcraft orcs. I have the movie version Warcraft orcs. I have Todd's shitty statue orc. And then I have like the modern ones from a couple different companies. So I've kind of wanted to do a video comparing all those. I just haven't had time to actually do it. But I plan on doing that sometime soon.
So is that something you want to do for your YouTube channel? Something like that where you compare different.
I wouldn't mind talking about things that I don't see other people really talking about. And I do have some stuff that would be kind of interesting to show off. So like a review of the Nordor playset from New Adventures Eternia, which is like Skeletor's like moon. Like I haven't seen anyone do like a review for that. So like showing that off would be kind of cool. Like the Imperial stuff that I brought up, I have a ton of those old Imperial toys with the chariots and the saddles, and I have one that's like an elephant with like a battle carriage and laser guns coming off like every direction. Like, so I have some stuff that's kind of rare and obscure that I wouldn't mind actually talking about.
Okay. Now, as for your Instagram, oh shit. For your Instagram, which you obviously focus on more.
Yeah.
Do you have any other ideas, any other things that you're looking to do?
There is something I want to do that's like reels and shorts on YouTube, which is basically just like the turnaround videos that people do, but doing like a character bio. So like if I had him, it would like show off a couple different poses, spin around, and then read the bio for the character.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually, and you know, the YouTube shorts now have gone up to 3 minutes.
Okay.
So you can actually have more time if you're going to read like a character bio than trying to get everything done in 60 seconds.
Yeah. So like something like that I've thought about doing for a while. It's just a matter of like taking the time to figure out how to do it properly and then do it. And then there's a video on my YouTube, which is I took a clip from Archer and I redid it with Masters of the Universe characters. And it was Krieger's talk about Fister Roboto. And I set up like the whole thing, did it like clip by clip to go along with the dialogue. And I really liked how it turned out. So I'd like to do some more stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, Darren, they're going up to like 3 minutes, and they won't only be vertical format either. They're
Yeah, I
like,
like that because the vertical is kind of limiting in certain things.
yeah, and you can turn it off. So if you're like, I don't want this to be a 2.5 minute short, I want this to be a video. Like you can turn that off, so it's not automatically done. But they've taught like it's changing some things, and you'll be able to turn off shorts for a limited amount of time in your feeds. So if you don't like shorts on YouTube, you can turn it off. So yeah, I don't know. YouTube's always changing something, but I think I think TikTok had already changed the minute format. They changed this to now there's longer formats. So now it'll be Instagram that's really the only one that's doing the minute format, which drives people nuts. I mean, but it's a short. Like, why does it? I mean, okay, maybe you want to give a minute. Let's say a minute 30, but I think it's 3 minutes is what they talked about. Now you're looking at a fucking short video.
Yeah.
All right. There's a guy that used to be an artist, swam in the waters. That was all his videos. Everything would be shorts of his. I won't mention his name, but you guys can put two and two together. He might have pissed me off recently. So any new pictures that like you have? So what are your days? Tell everyone what your days are as we wrap this up. So what are your days that you do?
Most Mondays are either a Marvel or a Mythic shot for Marvel Monday or Mythic Monday. Tuesday is almost always a Mo Tuesday. Wednesday is Hump Day, but now it's also the AWOC collab because I got invited to the AWOC collab group. So the last couple weeks I've been doing an AWOC shot every Wednesday as well. Thursday it's usually some kind of randomness. Friday used to be Fisto Friday, but now it's just kind of randomness. Saturday I usually do a vintage toy or a cartoon character, and then Sundays are usually something playful like the Plunderlings or something like that.
Now, are they always inappropriate pictures?
Wednesdays are usually inappropriate. This Mo Tuesday will be somewhat inappropriate. You know the scene with Freddy Krueger and like the claws coming out of the tub, and she's laying there. I did that with Tila and the Terror Claw. So that's gonna be my Mo Tuesday shot this week.
So, AWOC asked you to join their collabs.
Yes.
Have they looked at your pictures?
Yeah. People know what I do. Usually for collabs, I don't do that. Like I even got invited to a Fisto Friday collab after I had stopped doing Fisto Friday. That's how I got in the Motu group that I'm in. But I didn't post the raunchy Fisto. I was like, okay, I'll do just a regular Fisto shot. But then the next week, I was like, well, since I revived Fisto Friday, that was when you got the Scott Knightlick getting fisted picture. Because that was the one I actually shot, and I showed it to the collab group, and they're like, maybe not. And I was like, okay, I got another one.
Maybe not. And you're like, but I'm so proud of this one.
I was pretty proud of it. I gave Scott Knightlick the tiniest penis. Like... You put your face on an action figure, I'm gonna get you.
I know. Don't you remember when Travis was talking about having that 3D printer and 3D printing? Everyone's like, "Fuck, no, you're not."
Oh man, you know what? I'm thinking I might actually get a 3D printer sometime soon.
But you got to give it to Scott. Like, if you say a line is gonna die long enough, eventually it's gonna die. Like there's some people that are convinced that G.I. Joe Classified is going to be a dying line. It's not going to be around forever. Eventually, they will be right.
Now, I think Gargoyles died and no one said a fucking word about it.
No, they still have 3 figures that they need to produce. That
I know, but I haven't heard anything or seen anything in so long.
The last thing that came out was the Hudson. Wasn't it? Or was it Brooklyn? No, Brooklyn. The Detective Brooklyn.
Broadway.
Yeah, Detective Broadway.
Yeah, that was the last one I remember.
So that came out, and it was funny because Ted from Hella Dope, he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, we just got this in." I go, "Dude, that figure is like really old." And he was like, "Dude, we just got." And I saw Sergeant Reds get it. I was like, "Yeah, that thing came out at during one of the holothons." At Matthew, actually, the Goliath, a Demona 2-pack came out at the same time because that went right to Best Buy. So, like, those 3 figures all came out at the exact same time. That was a long time ago. And how long ago did they show off Cold Stone and those 3 other figures on the clock tower? That was like last.
Death, right? Was one of them.
It was last New York Comic Con, I think. And now we're coming in on. So it's been over a year. But don't just release them, because the detective one, I saw that at PowerCon, and I asked him, I'm like, "Hey, when is that coming out? And where can you get it?" And he said that it was. I was like, "I'm not sure, but it's going to be an exclusive. I think it's going to be a NECA exclusive." And then it just shows up at Target, out of nowhere, like no one knew about it. And then 6 months later, it shows up at like all the retail stores, like Sergeant Reds and Hella Dope Toys and BBTS and stuff. So yeah, we need Macbeth, Cold Stone. I thought there was a third one too.
Yeah, I remember Macbeth and Cold Stone, but I can't think of another one.
Yeah, I thought there was 3, but I could be completely wrong. But there's so many gargoyles. I was happy with like 1 a month.
Yeah,
I can deal with that.
I didn't have an issue with their pacing at all. At first, they were a little hard to find, but now you see them pretty much everywhere. But yeah. I mean, no word on if it's actually going to continue.
No, and again, when you see the stuff that NECA continues to produce, you're like, but Gargoyles is where you need to stop it.
We don't need another Alf.
I don't know, dude. That new one is awesome. It's the accessories, like the accessories. Yeah. NECA gives you the best accessories for $40.
Yeah, but I mean, people need to start doing accessory packs. Like, you don't have to sell a whole new figure every time. Like for the.
I'm with you there. I said that, and somebody got mad at me. Somebody argued with me about, and again, I think I'm probably one of the more understanding people because it was about the detective figure, and I go, they could have just given you a pack for $20 rather than having to spend $40. And he was like, you need to understand. I'm like, I understand the reason why they do it, but if I have a Broadway and I want a detective Broadway, well, then I'm going to buy another Broadway figure and that. Yeah. But if I look at this and I'm like, hey, it's the exact same figure. Everything was the exact same. That body, the head, everything was the exact same. Or they gave you an extra head. I think they give you a different head to go with the hat. So I'm like, all right, you could have done that. And then if somebody wanted to have both, they would have just bought another Broadway. So technically they would have made more money. Yeah. And people would have bought just the fucking trench coat.
Exactly.
But yeah,
I need to use the restroom real bad, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Anyway, so Thanos is going to use the restroom. I think Roman's going to need to go out, so probably should have just wrapped it up there. Look, here's Roman right now. Say hi to everyone, buddy. Smucker, say hi. I know. Look, there you are. Look there, you're right there. Say hi. I know what you want. You gotta be nice, all right? You gotta give me 1 second, all right? I promise you we'll wrap this up. You okay? What? Say hi. Everyone right now is saying hi to you. I know. All right, while we're waiting here, I'm just gonna play a little commercial from one of our sponsors. Here we go. Oh, hey guys, what's going on?
Mossman, What are you doing back here? Oh, you see, so Skeletor, he had to go to the grocery store. He had to go buy more barbecue Pringle chips. And so he's put me in charge here for a little bit. In charge of y'all. He said, man, Moss Man, I have to go to the grocery store, so I need to put you in charge of Snake Mountain. Yes, that's Skeletor. That's Skeletor. Skeletor said since I was in charge, I could use the credit card and maybe go online and buy some action figures for myself.
Oh, some action figures sound kind of nice. Yes. Maybe we can go to Big Ben.
Yeah, Beastman, we don't say that around here. We go to HellDopeToys.com. They have the best prices in town, and they ship everything in one business day. One business day, Beastman. That means I buy it, and it comes to my house super fast, and they pack it all real nice. So when I go to do my YouTube reviews for my 5 subscribers, I'll be like, look at this minty fresh package box that I got from HellDopeToys.com. So what are we waiting for, y'all? Let's go get that credit card and head on over to HellDopeToys.com right now before they run out of all the good stuff.
All right. You had your speaker on. I heard the echo. I was like, where'd the echo come from?
Thought I muted.
No, it's all right. Clinton Jorgensen says, put Roman on Cameo. Yeah, like crazy echo at the end. I was trying to figure out because I had it playing.
Yeah, when I came back, I unmuted.
Yeah. No big deal.
I thought you meant when I was in the bathroom, because my bathroom is literally like right there. So.
Oh, no. I often wonder how many times people hear my kids flush the toilet when I'm
never noticed it
because
I'll hear it every time now.
Well, I don't know if it picks it up because it's on the other side of this wall, like you said, but it's got that high power flush. So it's one of those like it's not quiet. It's it's pretty damn loud.
Like Al Bundy.
Everyone's heard like the train that goes by, and they're like, "Yeah, we heard the train. Yep, there goes the train." So, but anyway, I think it is time to wrap it up. I want to say thank you very much.
Yeah, it was fun.
I know you said, "Oh, I think I might be your first dad." There's no way. People don't know who you are. Like they know you. They know your name. They see you on Oz's. They see you. Well, I don't know how. Again, we talked about it earlier. I don't know how much they see you on, Geek Dead Lifestyle and Toy Anxiety, but you used to be in there all the time, and they always read your stuff. Like I said, I used to think you were a really big YouTuber, a really big, and then I meet you, and you're like, I barely do anything. But again, like you are one of those people that I know people have wondered about.
I'm sure they have.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, you do, you do some really interesting Instagram pictures. That is the talk of the town at times. All right, when you hear people start going back and forth, like, did you see what Thanos did? And you're like, no, I haven't gotten to it yet.
See, that's cool. I like that.
And it's interesting. Again, you're pushing the limit, but it's not like too grotesque. Yeah. I haven't seen anything that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe someone would do something like that. Although sometimes, like you said, like, hey, I think this one might get me kicked off. And sure enough, you're still there.
Yeah.
But I do want to say thank you very much. If anyone is interested, if they're not following him already, both links to his Instagram and YouTube are in the description. So go there, give him a like, and give him a follow.
I didn't really talk about my YouTube, but it is just me going back through my Instagram shots. So if you like that stuff and you kind of want to hear like maybe what I was thinking or what I used to set up, that's what my YouTube is.
So look at that, even better. Then you can actually, Johnny can go back and find out exactly what he was thinking.
How did he make that semen? It'll come up.
I think if you watch the Clubhouse, you usually find that stuff out.
Yeah, that's true too.
I think it's the first time well, semen has been brought up on this show before, but usually in reference to shipwreck.
Yes.
Not the semen that you're talking about. Well, I want to say thank you very much. Please go over there. Hit that like button for him. No, wait, it's hit the subscribe button. You hit the like button for this. You hit the subscribe button for him. Follow him on Instagram. If you follow him, don't unfollow him because he put up something distasteful. We've already told you it's distasteful. And look, he's not
This
offended.
Wednesday shot's gonna be great. Like I'm really like I was so happy with myself when I did it. So
Well, anyway, we are going to call it a night. Thank you guys all for showing up. Paul, it feels weird to call you Paul, but I feel like I need to. Although you're just Thanos now. Thanos works. I'll be 100% honest. It really does work. So, anyway, I do appreciate it. It's been great having you on. And everyone else, I will see you guys all. I'll be on for. Are you going on Oz this Saturday
most likely.
to celebrate him finally hitting 500 subs?
Yeah.
So I will be on at least for a short bit, but I got a lot to do in preparation for.
Yeah.
I'll be sending you a link because I will need help.
Yeah, I'll hop on when I have time.
Yeah, I got a lot of help, but there'll be some periods where I need some help. So anyway, thank you very much. I will see everyone on Saturday and or on Monday where you guys know where you can find me. Thanos, thank you very much. Have a wonderful night, everyone, and see you guys soon.